are the rules. Nobody fights, nobody quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. Welcome to the Gruffnecks, and welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music. Or don't. I'm not your dad.
Every man lives, not every man truly dies.
Hello.
Hello guys, how you doing?
I don't know what's actually happening, so I'm just going to say hello.
Hello!
This, of course, is me, Adam, and this is here. On this side is George, and below me
I was
is
going to say,
Andy.
do we have Andy? Hey!
I think Andy's having an aneurysm.
Oh!
Yeah. I was playing the music, the intro.
Because I can't hear it. It's all fucked up.
Yep. No, that's fine. That's well, unless you want me to edit the show,
Yeah,
that's your problem.
That's a problem for
Yeah,
future Adam to
absolutely.
deal with, and
Absolutely.
future Adam will deal with it.
And you got to remember that the audio, like the music, hasn't
Of course,
been
yes.
recorded.
Yeah. And it's
It's
all
just
stuff that
for
I
the
will
stream.
deal with tomorrow, and that's fine by me. That's Adam.
I like that attitude. It's very
Yay!
Zeechian, you know?
The future version of me that will deal with this shit. He will hate past me, but past me right now doesn't care because past me has a lovely cup of raspberry tea.
You want to be really careful though, Adam. Like, you know, in the 40k universe, the Zeechian followers, they actually can influence their past selves. That does happen.
So what?
You don't want future Gruff reaching back and punishing you for this.
It depends on the punishment, because obviously, if he sends back nothing sexual, I'm not talking about some kind of weird two-person.
No, that's
masturbation.
Slanesh, isn't
Yeah,
it? I mean,
yeah.
we haven't quite got
Okay.
there yet.
Yeah, if you know, I came back in time and gave myself a reach around, that's going to be something that's a little bit weird, and probably would destroy the universe. So I might actually do that. I would.
Wait, why would it be weird if you're doing it to yourself? Why would that be weird?
Because it's a version of me that'll be slightly older, and I might not like him as much. You know, it just
But it's just like
might
tugging
smell
off your
weird.
yourself. It's
yeah, it's like
God, this one went downhill fast.
it's like tugging myself off, but at the same time, I can make a jam sandwich. So win-win.
To be fair, I think it'd only be weird if you got your younger self to tug you off as your older self.
Depends.
I think that's where the issue is.
It depends on what you mean by younger self. If you're talking about a couple of weeks, then all right, that's all right, that's fine. But if you're talking like,
I mean, you're like 60, and I mean, like a
Right.
week from now, you're like that
Right.
one.
so not 60.
90-year-old Gruff is like, come on, you Gruff, give me a little saucy seconds.
So you don't
Okay,
think about like 50-year-old me going back to 18-year-old Adam, because that was. Oh, although I did have good hair at that time, so it might help. Who knows?
Fabulous hair. Fabulous hair.
Wow, so yeah, there's the tone set for this episode of the Fluffenhammer.
Well, yeah, we are going to be talking about being old. So you know, being old.
Speak for yourself.
I'm a zombie, so I can't really say.
No,
too
I was
much.
going to say
my
you're
aging
right,
process
aren't
is
you, really?
done.
Yeah, I was going to say you're sort of out of the spectrum now, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're just sort of. In
I
your
go
own
from
little
where I
place,
am
yeah.
now to a pile of dust.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Unless somebody
Interesting.
like comes up to you and then reanimates the skeleton that's inside you, which leads to a really
That's
interesting point. Actually, right? Say that a zombie master comes along and reanimates you as a zombie, or it's a bacterial virus, or I don't know, the moon's wet or something like that, and the zombie happens. Would there be a zombie and a ghost version of you?
Well, I've always thought like a cool character for the undead would be like the Shattered One, where the spirit is separated from the body, and they're kind of like still. You know Vilch, how Vilch has like the big brother body, and then the little serpent.
Yeah,
Like that, but with a ghost. So you have like you have the spirit disconnected from the body, but they still retain the almost two individual personalities at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah, the body
That's
has
kind of fun,
so-
actually.
the body has the bestial nature, whilst the mind has the higher intellect.
Yeah, and the only way you could destroy them is by destroying both, because one or the other could reanimate the other.
Ooh,
Yeah, I kind of like that.
that's a really
Interesting.
cool idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Actually, like,
Yeah.
getting into the psychology of necromancy here, I kind of like that.
It's also a way to marry the Nighthaunt and the Death Rattle together in a bit more of a nice union, which I like the idea of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Because you could do, like, from a modelling perspective, it would be loads of fun, wouldn't it? Because you could do both, like, the living and spectral versions of characters, right?
Yeah.
Great
If you
fun.
want to do like the really easy version, it's just you get a nice warrior model, you get a skeleton head, and then you get one of the spirit host spirits, and you just plug them onto the back. And that's the simple way to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, effective.
Or you can go
though,
much
I
more
imagine.
elaborate.
Right, all you need is, say, let's take one of the Cursed City characters, right? The paladin type class, right? So you cut her head off, which now I've said that out loud, I feel really bad for. You cut her head off, replace that with a skeleton head. Then you get the spirit host body, put her head on the spirit host body with one of her arms, put a skeleton arm on her actual body. And what you've then got is that merging of the themes between the two. And you've got a really simple, really effective looking miniature. I don't know. That would be
It is one of the
very cool.
benefits, isn't it, of like the undead ranges that you can do stuff like that. I mean, I've always found that really attractive about them.
Do we know when like the 3rd edition Soulblight Gravelords are getting their book?
Oh, it won't be for a while.
I would.
Well, I mean, you say that, but the Lumineth
Yeah.
seem to get a book like every month.
Right, it's hard to sell, isn't it, with AOS these days?
Yeah.
Because it's been so weird. The releases they've been good. They've all been good.
Oh, yeah.
But they've been so odd in terms of the choices made and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very
It's-
peculiar
I'm
things.
trying
I
to
mean,
consider like there's one mini that the book could have in now, and that's the Hollow King. The Hollow King's a new mini who actually needs special rules because they got him.
Yeah.
And they've got the quote-unquote rules on the back, but he apparently has no special rules. There's nothing special about him. It just has the stat line for him, and that's it. And I don't believe that's true. I think in the whatever future battle tome, there'll actually be something to him. And I'm hoping they will be... it's the hope and the dream of one new character or one new something.
Yeah.
something at least.
Yeah, because usually when a battle tome comes out, the army gets one thing. Right?
They get something
Usually
or
a
something
Usually.
updated or
Although,
something
have
like
the
that.
Ogre War tribes got anything? For their
No
new
one
book?
likes the ogres. It's like the Flesh Eater course. They don't get anything either.
I don't think the Ogre War tribes got anything.
The Flesh Eaters have like 5 units, don't they?
True, yeah. 3.5.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
it's true, and it's a shame because they could really do with AOSing properly, couldn't they?
Oh, 100%,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like properly AOSing.
Yeah, you get
I
a box full of the Crypt Ghouls, and in that box you also get a sprue full of Bretonnians, and you just smash them together.
Yeah, that would work.
And that would make
definitely
me very
work.
happy.
It'd be more fun because I really like. I've got Crypt Ghouls to paint, but I don't like them. I don't think they look cool. Like you get the Crypt
Well,
Horrors,
that's because
they
they're
look cool.
ancient.
Yeah,
They're ancient.
The Crypt Horrors aren't like super new, are they? But I think they look good. They're more dynamic. They're more interesting to look at. They've got a bit more to them. You look at these Crypt Ghouls, and they're just they're
They're
like
so old.
they kind of remind me of 2001: Space Odyssey when the monkeys are beating each other to death with bones. Like they don't look cool.
I like using them for bits. The kit is
Yeah.
very good for like conversions, but in and of themselves, now they're naff.
Wait,
What are they good for converting into?
Well, I use them to convert into like weird, chaotic homunculi and things. Hang on,
Oh,
I've
that
got
makes
one
sense.
of them. I think I've got a couple of them knocking around here somewhere.
well, isn't that
Because I was
Crypt
actually
Ghoul-
trying to think like what I could use for them. I had no idea. I was looking at them going, could I turn them into something and use them to build into something better? I was like, I don't think I've got the parts.
So I've got one there, and it's sort of like a Slaanesh cultist. So it's sort of like bent over and
he's
hunched,
cool.
and it's got like bits from racks attached to it and all sorts of stuff. He's a very nasty piece of work, he is.
I was going to say, isn't
Yeah.
that ghoul kit, isn't that from like Wartime era?
Yeah, it's very old. It's like, it's one of the earlier, I don't know like quite when it came out, but it was very, what edition of the Vampire Counts was it? It wasn't the first book, But it may have been
No.
the second Vampire Counts book that these were released for.
Yeah.
Well, probably second, because it would have been like around the time when the multi-pack kits started coming out, I would imagine.
Yes,
so
that's
yeah, it must have been around then.
God,
Same for like the Corpse Cart as well, right? Corpse Cart must have came out around then,
Yeah.
which hasn't changed either.
Long time. So no, it has not. Has not.
Bless
It's a
it.
long time ago, isn't it? That.
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, I was
My
just wondering,
goodness.
because I was thinking, like, clearly what they did with the Soul Blight Gravelords is they got the Cursed City expansion box set, which was Radakar the Beast, the lady vampire with the mask,
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
long dress, whatever she's called.
Annika, is it, or something like that?
Maybe it's Annika? Yeah.
Challenge
and the
Annika!
Fell Bats. And they went, how about we put all of those expansions and we just put them into the main line?
Yeah.
And we can
Yeah.
tell this by what the expansion box is and how empty it is and how clearly it needed the actual miniatures in it.
Yeah.
So what else could they do? Are we going to get in the next Soulblight Gravelords the rest of the expansions for Cursed City to come out then? Or are they going to put something else a little bit more substantial in there? Because it'd be nice to get, like we say, like a new Corpse Cart would be nice to get refreshed, because that's old.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
Blood Coven, the Mortis Engine, that kit which is 3 things.
Yep.
Any
Yeah,
of those
it's
to get
awesome,
re-updated?
that is. I mean, that is a lovely kit, that one. I love that
The Mortis engine's not that old, though, compared to a lot of the other stuff. It's less.
Is it not?
It's about
No,
5 years
the
old.
Mortis Engine came out in the End Times,
Yeah,
didn't
it did,
That
yeah.
hit in the
okay.
End Times,
So
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's not like a terrible kit or
No,
anything.
no,
No,
just
it's
like-
really
It's one of
good.
the
It's
older things.
very
Black Knights need to
adaptable,
change, though. Black Knights are in desperate need of a change,
Yeah.
and same with Graveguard, because they're not fun kits to build.
No, especially in context with that White King on his steed.
Yeah,
it just doesn't
100%.
work, does it?
No,
And it's a shame because they're good cavalry, right? They're very
No.
good cavalry in the game,
no. That's
What,
not
in
what I hear. I
Oh,
hear
is
the
it?
Black Knights are bad, and they haven't
Oh,
been good
such a
since...
shame.
Yeah, they haven't been good in the previous edition, and they're still not good now. Unless
That's
they've
such
had
a shame. They
an
used
update.
to be amazing.
Yeah, they're apparently really bad. It's like, don't take them.
What a shame.
No,
Mind
it's
you,
a
that
shame.
said, you do have them in the same book as the Vampire Cavalry, right? Which is probably a mistake, because the Vampire
Blood
Cavalry
Knights.
is always going to win out, right?
Well, I think there's a way you do the Blood Knights as your heavy cav, and you make them obviously more expensive and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
have the other ones. Their benefit will be the light cav, but they can come back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's probably the way to
They're
do
more
it.
for harrowing than going and just attacking and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're there to piss people off.
you could use them for like capturing points or like
Yeah.
chasing down wizards or archers or something like that.
Oh, like disruption units, yeah?
Why are you laughing?
I just really
Yeah,
like
that is
the
what
idea
you
of
do.
chasing down wizards. Just really like the idea of this poor wizard like running hellbent down a battlefield. It's like, these fucking ghosts won't stop chasing me!
You'd be surprised how fun it is in Total War Warhammer to chase down archers with a pack of dire wolves and just dogs jump on them.
I mean, the one
Especially when they're like handgunners as well, or like mortars, or any heavy artillery things. They're just crippling your army, your undead army. Having your dogs go and balk on them is quite fun.
I mean, this is the one
Bestest of bottles.
I think they're probably going to tone this one down in the next FAQ.
Yeah, you said last time we talked that they were a little bit overpowered, and I think
Yeah.
I've heard other people say similar things as
In
well.
AOS, yeah, you've got to look at them in context of AOS, because, like, in Age of Sigmar, any long range is good, right? Any long range gives you an immediate advantage. This entire army has long range and mortal wound output. You know,
Ron shows a fancy page in there.
it's absolutely... I mean, the big one I'm looking at, there's a cult, the Cult of Summoners, and their little special rule, and it's only a little special rule, but it's significant, is that there's always a mechanic for summoning the demons, right? You get, in this it's fate points, so every time a spell is cast, either by your side or the enemy side, and it's not dispelled, you get a fate point, right? So, in AOS, that's a lot of fate points racking up per turn, right? Because spells are significant, yeah. For most armies, spells are pretty significant. The Guild of Summoners allows you to summon Lords of Change for only, I think it's 9 points apiece.
What?
Which is
sounds
bonkers.
very, very cheap.
It's bonkers, yeah. And that's pretty bonkers. It means that you could potentially summon multiple Lords of Change, you know, which is a bit a bit crazy, to be honest, because they are some of the best non-character units. Yeah, 9 fate points to summon the first. Oh, the way it works is 9 fate points to summon the first time, 18 the second time, and so on. But even that is really good compared to how much they normally cost, which is 30 points, right?
Yeah.
Which is balanced. That makes sense. But that's pretty nasty. The Pyrophane cult, they allow you, so like, you know how your Kyric acolytes, your mortal servants of Zeech in this book, they have like a magic attack, they can hurl magical bolts, which are not that powerful in and of themselves, but they can cast a lot of them. With the Pyrophane cult, any unit that suffers wounds as a result of that has the potential to then have mortal wounds stacked on top of that. It's pretty nasty, you know?
Wow.
And again, this isn't like, say, 40k, where that wouldn't really be such a big deal, because a lot of armies have stuff like that. In AOS, it really, really, really is.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff in this book, I find, that very few armies have an answer to in AOS.
Oh.
I think they're probably going to FAQ that one a little bit. Wouldn't surprise me.
Sounds like it.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
The
horrors, again, are kind of a problem. They've always been a problem, haven't they, with the splitting rule?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There are certain armies where I just don't know. If you have multiple horror units in one of these armies, I don't really know how certain armies are going to cope with them.
Allow me.
You make it work by like having it as a roll, like you roll to see if they actually split.
I think that's what they've done. But even given, let me have a look. I think that's certainly what they've done in the 40k version. In the 40k version, they only split on a 4+. But even then, you're still going to get a unit that grows on average rather than diminishes, right? Which is problematic. Let me have a look. In this one you just choose. So you can choose. They've got 2 abilities, right? You can either choose to have them split, or you can have this rule called Petty Vengeance. And Petty Vengeance means if an enemy unit kills a horror, it explodes and it deals mortal wounds to them. But even that's pretty nasty, right?
Oh yeah.
They're a problematic unit. I mean, I like it. I like the split rule. I think it's really characterful and fun and weird, and it suits the Zeech stuff really, really well. But it is, I'd say if you've got more than a unit of horrors, if you've got 2 full units of horrors, they're going to be really difficult to shift.
I have an answer, and that answer is war, and you just hit them until they stop moving.
Difficult.
Or my other answer is, apparently, and I haven't looked this up yet, so I don't know how true it is, there is a way to put a steam tank into one of the Caradron Overlord ships. So,
oh wow!
The old school steam engines.
The steam
Empire
tanks.
ones.
Yeah. Steam
I
tanks.
love those.
So,
I love those to bits.
So I quite like the idea of doing a bombing run with the big ship, then just dropping a steam tank down. But then, saying that, if that's the case, does that not also mean that you can have something like, I don't know, a war altar, or like a Daughters of Cain war altar? If that's the ability you've got, and you can ally with Daughters of Cain, fly it in, drop a war altar down, right?
That's pretty good, isn't it?
And then you're just decimating everything in the centre of the battlefield. I'm going to say you're not allowed to do that, but that's not going to stop me from trying.
Yeah, again, it's mortal wounds output, really. That's the big thing with these guys. They're going to be a well-structured Disciples of Zeech army. If it's well chosen, is going to be just hurling mortal
They've been
wounds out.
firing up the meta, haven't they? They've just been going right up the rankings.
They really have. But then again, do you guys remember Zeech armies in the fantasy system have always been like this?
Yes.
Since way back when. It's always been the case that Zeech armies are pains.
Yeah.
They're absolute pains. I think it's because they are, in terms of the meta of the fantasy system, they're just so strange. It's less of the case in AOS. There are more armies that have more in the way of weird spells and long range capabilities, like the Lumineth, for example, and the Daughters of Cain are another one. They've got quite a lot of long range stuff. The Hedonites of Slanesh have got tons of long range stuff. But there's very little in the game that does it as well as these guys. That's the God's honest truth. And you've got so many mobile units as well. You know, like Enlightened and Skyfires and so on. It's a weird little
people,
army.
Right?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
It's a weird little army. I really like them, I've got to say, but I think they may be a little bit overpowered. A little bit.
Are there Chaos Knights on discs in that book, or is that like you think that'll be a Slaves to Darkness thing?
There are not Chaos Knights on discs per se, which is a shame. I would love to see that unit. I would love to see that unit.
They're very fun and one of the top units in Total War Warhammer. And I like, again, they look very cool.
Yeah,
so
they used to exist once upon. They used to exist in 40k once upon a time. You could take them in 40k, but you can't anymore, unfortunately. I would love to see
I have the rules for them in here.
Yeah. In the Thousand Sons army, wouldn't you just love to see like a unit of, maybe not Rubricae because they'd have difficulty staying on the discs probably, but like sorcerers on discs, a unit of, rather than a an HQ, like an elite choice maybe.
So I was just having a quick look to see if I could find them. I can't quickly see them, so I'm going to stop doing them.
They're not in that book, Gruff.
Are they not?
They're in Lost and the Damned.
Fine. I'll get the other one out.
Thousand Sons and Death Guard, Lost and the Damned.
Get the other one out, that's fine. No, I'm not going to look through books. That's just silly. So, shall we get on to talking about some of the releases, news, and comments?
Yeah. Why not? There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There is a lot more than I
usual.
thought. Yeah.
Me too. Did you guys watch this stream, by the way?
I forgot it was on.
I didn't know it was on either, I will fully admit. It's one of the very few where I completely forgot.
No, it was already happening, and about halfway through before I realised it was going on, by which time it was just too late for me to be able to see.
I'm kind of sad now, because there was a lot of stuff that I'd really like in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to get back and try to re-watch it to see it, but I just haven't had the chance. But that's okay, because together we can hold each other's hands and go down this little route as we celebrate the fact that 40k turned 35 fucking years old this year.
Hey!
30.
I mean, I meant to ask you guys, like, when did you come into 40k? What edition was it? And, how did you get in?
So, for me...
Do you want to go first, Graf?
Yeah. For me, it was second ed proper, but I was already getting White Dwarf because I was already into Fantasy Battle by that point. So, you'd see a lot of the Rogue Trader rules, you'd see a lot... That weird point in 1990, 1991, where it was still Rogue Trader, but it was moving into being a more solidified game.
Yeah, when the White Dwarf was sort of like pruning all the abstruse role-playing stuff away a little bit.
Yeah, when you get the compendiums and all that type of stuff, and you had like Chaos Squats and Chaos Androids.
Noise Marines and Khorne Berserkers for the first time,
Yeah, and of course all the...
Because they weren't in the first army list, were they?
They were not. They weren't.
It's a weird thing to think, isn't it? No Khorne Berserkers in the World Eaters, right?
Well, it's crazy to think that when Rogue Trader first hit, there wasn't a proper Horus Heresy. It was a throwaway line. It's a very, very small part of the Rogue Trader book. And then you get the Bill King 12-page extravaganza, which explains what the Horus Heresy was, which has just ended up being the basis of everything for...
right.
For the last, 10 years now of Horus Heresy books? It all comes out of that 12-page treatment. It's absolutely incredible.
What a strange thing, right? And no Primarchs then either.
No. There's the names.
Horus was just a human general, right? Horus was just a human general of the under the Emperor's employ, right?
Yeah, and then you get the retcon that happens in the first compendium, I think it is, which kind of explains the ideas of the Space Marines and the Primarchs. Because you've got to remember, at that point, the Space Marines, although incredibly fascist, were all Judge Dredd. They weren't... Yeah,
they were just
the Space
people
Marines
in
that we
armour,
see.
Weren't they?
Yeah, they weren't what we see as being the Adeptus Astartes.
It was the armour that made a Space Marine.
Yeah.
They weren't genetically modified or anything like that. I think
Well,
they might have still been psycho-indoctrinated,
Yeah.
but they weren't
Yeah.
physically changed.
No, because you had like Inquisitors, or you had actual just normal Imperial Guard guys wandering around in power armor as well. You know, it's absolutely
That's right.
brilliant.
That's right, yes. Anybody could technically wear forms of power armor back then. I mean, you still see a little bit of that now with the Inquisitors, don't you? Because Inquisitors can wear modified power armor still.
Yeah. It's, oh my fucking Christ, why did I even bother doing this? This is ridiculous. What was I going to say? Yeah, so then second came out, and I got hold of that, and the cardboard Dreadnought is still to this day one of my favourite things ever made, ever.
He's
Surpassed.
good. I like him.
Oh, it's so colourful. And if anyone has seen that wonderful grot Dreadnought that somebody made, which is the cardboard Dreadnought being held up by 15 grots behind it, and there's a little hole cut out with a little grot head looking out.
Awesome. That's brilliant.
And it's just them carrying it around the thing, around the battlefield. It's amazing. I love it.
And depending on the belief as well, would depend on how durable that would be as well, right?
yeah.
So potentially, if Space Marines couldn't penetrate it.
AP4 cardboard.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my god.
allow me to get down into the nitty gritty of what I did in Second Ed 40k. Are you ready for this? Right. I played Orcs.
Hey,
A
what?
lot of people did back then, didn't they? A lot of people did. They were very popular back then.
And then I went to Tyranids.
Yeah, and again, that happened a lot too.
Yeah, I can just feel the surprise just coming off everyone. And then I made my own Space Marine chapter. And it was a Space Marine chapter that had been caught in a warp storm, fighting nothing but orcs for thousands and thousands of years. So they'd had no reinforcements, they'd had no nothing to help replenish their supplies, and of course, because they were an offset of the Blood Angels, they needed blood, so they were drinking orc blood. So what you ended up with was a I don't know how to say this, because you got to remember, I was 14, right? They all looked like Spawn. I'm sorry. I painted them in the colours of Spawn, the comic character. I gave all the heroes the cloaks, the big high neck pieces. They were Spawn. I made a Space Marine chapter that looked like Todd McFarlane's Spawn. I'm sorry.
To be 100% fair, on a Space Marine, I think that colour scheme would be quite good.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, actually.
The black and the whites and...
The idea wasn't bad. My painting skills were fucking awful, so, you know. It didn't work. But, it's fine. I might revisit it at some point, but, just for one miniature for a laugh. But, so that's how I got into 40k way back when. I stuck with the Tyranids till the end of 4th edition, I think. And then that's
4th edition, wow, so you stuck with them for a long time.
Yeah, I stayed with the Nids for quite some time.
Went through lots of changes as well, lots of changes to the army.
Yeah.
What made you drop out of them?
4th ed, probably.
Yeah,
That's why everyone else dropped
pretty
out.
much, yeah. At that time, my interest in playing Warhammer was really starting to fizz out. I was still doing a little bit of fantasy battle, but most of it was just board games, and there was something. 4th ed was a really bad edition. Let's just call a spade a spade. It was a really bad edition, and it was very much the beginning of the tournament play idea.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of not enjoying the games as much. Also,
it was the height of really bad Games Workshop on a company level as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Like that was the very, very, very pinnacle of the worst practices by Games Workshop.
And to call a spade, the Tyranids by that point were fucking disgraceful.
They were not good. They were not good. I was reading through that codex again recently.
Bad.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's really
it's not just bad. It's like non-functional.
Yeah.
There are parts of it that just don't make sense in that game system. Units that just seem to fly in the face of the existing rule system of the time. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, if I was a betting man, I would say was that the Tyranids at that point were the Marine killers They were the absolute Marine killers. They would just worm their way through everything that the Marines had. And so, our Lord and Saviour, Matt Ward, when he came to it, he decided to nerf them as much as he could, and that's exactly what he did.
They were nerfed, yeah.
Yeah, they got absolutely reamed, and they stayed that way for some time, unfortunately. It annoys me with that codex. I'm getting on my soapbox now. It annoys me with that codex that you take something like the Tyranids, whose very base concept is that they are constantly mutable, evolving creation, and make it the most stationary, concrete thing ever. They're slow, you can't do anything with them, you've got next to no choices with them. It is awful. Absolutely awful.
It was a particularly egregious coming on the back of the previous codex, right? Which was like probably one of the best Tyranid codices there's ever been.
Oh yeah, the
that
amount of
was
choice you
so
got.
mutable.
Yeah.
It was crazy, wasn't it? You could have stuff like the mutable. You had the distinction between mutable genuses and non-mutable genuses, right? So the mutable genuses were the ones where you could just upgrade them like crazy, like your Hormagaunts, your Termagants, even Gene Stealers could have weird weapons back then. They could have things like venom cannons and whatnot. You know, so weird.
Exploding sacks and long hooking tongues. Do you remember
so strange
the ability to make the Screamer Killer, the Carnifex, a burrowing creature?
Yes, yes. So it could deep strike, right?
Yep,
you could have
exactly.
an honest to god deep striking Carnifex.
Yeah,
and I
That
remember
sounds like a nightmare.
it was.
Fucking
It
brilliant.
was.
You know,
It was.
That's
I mean,
what it was
like,
doing. Because every time it came up, it did wounds to anything that came up underneath. So what people would do is they would have it coming up underneath tanks, just flipping tanks and just destroying them, and just like wiping out, leaving russes. You know. So
It was bonkers. I mean, that Tyranid. I mean, it was great fun, and it had such character as well. Like every page oozed character.
Literally
but I think
oozed.
what happened, it was literally right, like alien slime and mucus and whatnot. It was the same problem that existed with the 3.5 Chaos Space Marines Codex. It was just too good, right? It was just too good. The problem Games Workshop had back then is when they came up with a good product like the 3.5 Chaos Space Marine Codex or that Tyranid Codex, rather than working to bring all of the other codices up to that level, they just nerfed them.
Yeah.
And they nerfed them so hard and with very little in the way of consideration. They had this habit of just ripping all the character out of the army. And that lasted for a whole edition.
Do you remember?
Because it wasn't like now, where things are a little bit more mutable and updatable. It was like, oh, sorry, your army sucks. Well, that's it until a couple of editions time, maybe, when they get the new codex.
Do you remember how slow the Eldar were in Fourth?
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Yeah. It was really, really strange.
Slow
They had a bad
Eldar.
time. Yeah, they had a really bad time in Fourth, didn't they?
Yeah, really did. Just paper thin, nothing to fight with. The Dracarian, brilliant. The Dark Eldar just absolutely ruined everything they touched.
Well,
the
that
Eldar
was when
themselves,
Phil Kelly reinvented them, right?
Yeah,
completely overhauled them from what they were back in Third Ed.
Yeah,
the background, everything. That's when you got the Homunculi becoming basically Cenobites in space. And it's like, oh, yeah, give me that. All of that, forever. And they've been great since, to be honest. There's a few editions where they've slipped, but they've been pretty damn good since. I mean, now, obviously, in 9th, they're still, even in the days of the Votan, they're still pretty damn reliable.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the Votan versus Dracari matches, it's really evenly matched. It's like
I imagine
really
that's pretty
good.
bloody, isn't it?
Oh,
pretty bloody, yeah.
The last man standing.
It wasn't too long ago where George would talk about just how dominating the Dracari were.
They were, and they
beginning
still
of the
kind of are. They still kind of are. I mean, funnily enough, Games Workshop have tried to nerf them like multiple times, and the codex is just so well put together, it hasn't worked.
No, people found ways around. It's absolutely brilliant.
It is such a good codex. That's the problem. It is such a well-constructed rule set that you can do that.
Yeah.
That's what's so brilliant about it. It's the best they've been for a long, long, long time.
So, Andy, how did you get into 40k? Tell us the tale, oh dead one.
It was probably the same as how I got into just Warhammer Fantasy, which was Mum's boyfriend was into it. I thought it looked pretty cool. We played Space Hulk, which was it was either Space Hulk or the edition with Orcs versus Space Marines.
Oh yeah,
with the cardboard. I think it was Dreadnought, or was it the Killer Can that was a paper cardboard?
Killer Can.
Oh god.
Well,
it was Killer Can. Yeah,
it wasn't a Killer Can because they were just called Dreadnoughts back then. It was
They were just called Dreadnoughts back then, weren't they? Yeah.
Oh. Right,
everything like there was the Elder Dreadnought, there was the Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought, there was the Space Marine. Everything was Dreadnought back then.
But there's no Necron Dreadnought.
That would have been the time that I got into it, but I didn't really stick with it just because I preferred fantasy. You know, I was more into my chaos stuff then.
Of course.
But I did get to see the dawn of like the Dark Eldar and the multi-part kits. I remember not enjoying putting together the Dark Eldar.
All the spikes, they're pointy.
Well, they were so thin as well. They had those really weedy arms. It's like putting together undead, which I wouldn't have known until these days. But yeah, I did enjoy kind of sticking spikes onto the side of their helmets. That was quite fun.
That's kind of fun,
so it was around that time. So again, it was around the era of like Epic and stuff like that. So I got to see Epic.
So that'd be 3.0. That'd be
something like that. Yeah.
Epic.
The golden years.
That was it. It was. I mean, 3.0 was a really weird one because it was such a drastic change, wasn't it? I mean, like that was the biggest change 40k had ever experienced. The whole rule set was completely changed to streamline it and make it more of a war game than a. I mean, Second Ed was still a skirmish game. It was still a skirmish game. It took like hours and hours and hours to put a game together and then to play it, and even then they were a very small scale, right, because it was so complex. There were so many different dice and templates and rules and so on and so forth, but it was also very unbalanced and weird. Do you remember, like, they had to, because it was a total change, everyone's codices were just invalidated the minute 3.0 came out. So they had a get you by army list for all of the armies in the back of the book, the Warhammer 40,000 book, but they were crap. They were really, really bare bones, like very, very boring army lists. So they were spewing out codices like you wouldn't believe.
So small.
But they were so tiny, they were pamphlets, weren't they? They were absolutely pamphlets. And the problem with them was because they were pushing them out so quickly, they weren't very good. I mean, do you remember I remember particularly the Chaos Space Marine Codex. That came out more or less directly after the Space Marine Codex, which was the first one. And it was so bad that there was the equivalent of a day one patch for that codex. There was so much in it that was wrong, or that you couldn't, that was like contradictory. There were all these pages in White Dwarf that told you, well, just so this unit works, apply this special rule. It was like, oh my god, it's so bad. But when Third Ed hit its stride, it was actually a good game system, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it
just took a while to get there.
Yeah, it was a solid enough system. It just needed more time to people to understand it. You know, that was the major issue, that the designers had spent all this time building it, and then the codex writers just didn't quite know how to get things together. Because if you remember, the Second Ed codices, those things they came out at a rate of knots, but each one had about a 2-year cycle. You know, they were working on those things during Rogue Trader, like the end years of Rogue Trader. The Space Wolves Codex, for example, there's a wonderful story of how that was meant to actually be part of Rogue Trader, but because they were working on Second Ed, it got pulled back, which is why that Space Wolves one is so good, because it had time to be refined again and again and again.
Also, the very first codex ever, right?
Yep.
What, the Space Wolves one?
Yep.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Space Wolves was the very first one, and then it was Orcs, I believe. The Orcs was the second one to come out.
That's right.
Eldar was the next one. That was when I came in. The Eldar Codex was my very first, because I was still like a pointy-headed hippie player back then. You know, I loved my Eldar back then. I absolutely adored them, and that was my way in, that Eldar Codex. And you know, when you're a kid, I think I was 8 years old when I got that, and when you're a kid and those things you obsess over. I read that book from cover to cover multiple times, and it eventually just fell apart. It just fell to bits, that codex. But it was so fascinating. It was so full of the lore and the details of this race. I just loved it to bits. I had a massive Elder army back then, all lead. Obviously, it was all lead.
But weirdly enough, I was away on Monday, Tuesday. Went to a friend's house, stayed there with everyone, and the two friends that I went to stay with, the married couple. I know him from my old days of wargaming at the West Cumbria War Games Club down at Trace Hall. For anybody out there who's listening from that time, good times. And I went to school with Laura, the wife. And me and Mike sat up and we just talked about old lead miniatures for about 3 hours, and it was absolutely wonderful. I think we went on a 1920s train that was built for Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, wow.
It was the actual one that was built for Murder on the Orient Express as well. It's really cool.
That's magnificent. That's absolutely
sniffing the seat for a bit of Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, God. Is that legal?
Give me your acting powers, Kenneth. So, George, where did you get in? 240k, not to Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten into Kenneth Branagh. I don't really want to be honest.
So where is skill?
Yeah, it was very much that. I mean, I had a sort of prior introduction through Space Crusade. A friend of mine had Space Crusade, and we sat and painted the miniatures and had a few games of Space Crusade. But 40k itself, it was a couple of issues of White Dwarf that my friend basically plonked in front of me at junior school at one point and said, read those, you'll love it, which I did, and that was pretty much it. I saw some of the new Elder miniatures as they were back then, some of which are still in use now, by the way. And that was it. Just fell in love with them. The aesthetic of them. You know what really did it for me? It was the Phoenix Lords. It was the Phoenix Lords. Again, many of which are still in use now. I remember having Fugan, the Burning Lance, back then. And just being in love with it. That miniature, just being absolutely in love with it.
I remember when those miniatures came out, right? This is one of those core memory moments, so thank you, George. I remember that issue that came out, and I pored over that page for hours. I never wanted to do Eldar. I never wanted to do an Eldar army. I didn't like the Eldar very much, but you could oh my god, a Sunuri, how you pronounce it?
Jazar.
The swooping
Karandras.
Oh my god, just
they're gorgeous, aren't they? The Phoenix Lords are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and the background for them too. I mean, I was fascinated by that. The notion that these guys are immortal. They are not the original Phoenix Lords per se, but when the Phoenix Lords die, when they're defeated, another Eldar from the same aspect shrine will find the suit and will put it on, and the engrammatic memories from the spirit stones that festoon the suit will infiltrate them and make them into the new incarnation of the Phoenix Lord. That's so cool. I love that as a concept.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. I mean,
is that what Fulgrim did, like a perverted version of himself to get?
Yes, exactly that. That's what Graham McNeil is definitely getting at in Angel Exterminatus. Yes. That's how he kind of forced his own apotheosis into a demon prince. Yeah, very cool, right? Very cool. So he's following in the path of the Eldar in a kind of perverted fashion,
which is perfect for Slaanesh.
Exactly, makes perfect sense, right? Absolutely perfect sense. I just can't wait for them to get all of the Phoenix Lords updated. I mean, the new miniatures are fantastic. The new Morgan Ra. Jeez, it's so good. It's so good.
What are they? What's a warp spider?
It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Distant pipe dream, distant pipe dream. You know the weird thing? The way the warp spiders are described in the background, the miniatures have never fulfilled what they're supposed to look like. They are supposed to look really scary. They've got the actual suits are like multi-limbed, like spiders, and they spend so much time in the warp that they're not quite stable Eldari anymore. You know, they're supposed to be really terrifying figures, even to the other Eldar. And sadly, the miniatures have never quite gotten it across. Some of the artwork in the original Second Ed Elder Codex really does. They are scary-looking things.
And the miniatures have always looked like the Elder version of Terminators. It's really, really bizarre.
It's really odd, isn't it? They look a bit too big, a little bit too heavy. They could do with making them a bit more spindly, really, couldn't they? And they make them sort of perched on things, like they're crawling along things, like spiders do, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, just...
I've still got a soft spot, though, you know. I still love my Eldari. I still do. They were my way in. And although I'm very much a Chaos boy these days... I still have a real soft spot, and I always enjoy reading the new codices for them. The new one is by far one of the best there's ever been.
Yeah.
It's so good, and you can do so much with it. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I mean, like, you know, well done on that one, Games Workshop. They've done a good job with them.
Well, speaking of you being Chaos Boy, shall we begin looking through some of the news, because there is something weird and chaosy that I've got here as our first.
There's really unexpected, right?
So what we've got here
really
is a little
unexpected
video that came out for the Warhammer Day preview celebrating 35 years of Warhammer 40,000. My God, please, 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 don't let that be true. And it says that, well, basically what everyone's saying is that it's the Dark Hereticus. I think it's actually the Zerg.
What makes you think the Zerg?
Because if you look at that silhouette picture, that is Kerrigan, the Zerg Queen.
It's not. It's not. It's Dark Mechanicum, isn't it? I mean, what it actually is, I've no idea. Not the first clue. It's clearly something very specific to the Dark Mechanicum, and apparently it's a special character as well.
Yeah.
But what it actually is, I don't know. It looks great. The silhouette and the details we've seen, because we've seen bits of it in the rumor engine, right?
Yeah, we saw his claw, like
we've seen his
talon.
hand. Yeah, we've seen his talon. He's got weird skeletal wings, and it seems to be like very Dark Mechanicum. It's a fusion of the demonic and the mechanical.
Are there any famous Dark Mechanicum in the
there are
the Horus Heresy lore?
Yeah, Kelbor Hal. It could be Kelbor Hal, who is the what do they call the manufacturer general from Mars, who sides with Horus and becomes like the founder of the Dark Mechanicum, effectively the very first of the Dark Mechanicum. It could be him.
Do you think they'd have him as a model, or do you think they'd leave him more as a background thing and have this as more like a leader character? Because I mean, granted, we do have Abaddon, so maybe that doesn't work. But
no idea.
There are other characters who we don't have.
It could be. I mean, they may just. I mean, I don't even know if Kelbor Hal survived the Horus Heresy. I don't think there's any background on whether he did or whether he didn't. So I don't know. It could.
The reason I asked is because
I
wondered if they were going to pick someone who's going to be like the current Mechanicus, like antithesis.
Yeah, that's probably the case. My guess is it's a new character. I don't think it's someone we know from the background. That would be my guess. Although if it is Kelbor Hal, that would be very interesting, because it means he's very old. He's been around for like well over 10,000 years.
And this Dark Mechanica stuff has been hinted at. I think you and Griff have talked about it for a while now, and I know
at least 2 years. Yeah.
Gagging for it.
Well, it's. I mean, ever since that stuff started to filter into Blackstone Fortress, I mean, people have been like, give it to us, give us the whole army. And of course, they did use Blackstone Fortress a bit like they use Warcry in AOS, right, to test bed miniatures and whatnot. So it's about time.
Is this where you put like Chaos Guardsmen as well, potentially, do you think?
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, even the new Chaos Space Marines were first originally released in Blackstone Fortress, so...
Yeah.
You know? It's going to be very interesting. What I find fascinating about them is how are they going to differentiate them from, I mean, not just aesthetically, obviously, but like how they work on the battlefield. How are they going to be different from the Adeptus Mechanicus forces?
More explodey, more wet.
What are the specialties of the Mechanicus? What if you could pick out like their advantages? What are they? And what are the disadvantages? Because maybe they'll just inverse it.
Maybe that'll be. I mean, it's largely firepower, isn't it? They've got very reliable firepower output. I don't know. Maybe with these guys, it'll be the opposite. Maybe they'll be like the Mechanicum, melee based or something. The whole philosophically, the difference between the Mechanicum and the Dark Mechanicus is that the Dark Mechanicus regard chaos as the omnia. They regard it as the manifestation of the omnia's philosophy, and they are allowed to experiment. That's the big difference. You know how the Adeptus Mechanicus really aren't. Philosophically, they have to keep everything the same. Everything is static because it's sacred. You can't update the machine because that would be heresy. The Dark Mechanicum don't give a toss about any of that. It's a case of, we'll meld flesh and metal and demons and whatever you like. It doesn't matter to us. So
it's a strange idea, because you would have thought they'd go harder into flesh is weak, but it seems like they're going for a weird mix of the two.
That's that's ideologically the big difference between the Mechanicum and the Adeptus Mechanicus. So the Adeptus Mechanicus, it is the flesh is weak, and by replacing their flesh with mechanical augmentations, they come closer to a state of divinity. That's not true for the Dark Mechanicum. The Dark Mechanicum, ironically, is about a balance between the organic, the demonic, metaphysical, and the mechanical.
Sounds almost like the weird inverse of the good guys take, because the good guys take would be like, oh no, there's a balance between man and machine, like in Beast Machines, and the Mechanicus
exactly.
Like, nope, robot only.
Yeah,
no
exactly
monkey.
that. Exactly that. I mean, it's another good example about how technically there are no good guys in 40k, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good example of that. I mean, I suppose the best examples of that balance that we currently have are things like the Obliterators, for example, who manifest it, like, completely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is even like a little bit of background that says that the Obliterators may in fact derive originally from experiments by the Dark Mechanicum, so...
I do think, however, the sort of blurry picture that you get, if you look at that like fuzzy blurry picture, the head does look a little bit frog-like. So what if it isn't Dark Mechanicum and it is in fact the Slan?
Oh dear, I'm not sure. I mean, funnily enough, I did see one theory that suggested that it might be, you know how Fulgrim. You know how Fulgrim is not Fulgrim. Lorgar is guided by that weird demon prince in the Horus Heresy.
Oh yes, yes.
What's it called? I can't remember its name. The one that's born on Davin. But it's like Lorgar's spirit guide, basically. I heard some suggestions that it might be that character.
That would be cool.
That would be very interesting, right? It does look a little bit like her. Now that I look at it and I think of the artwork of that character, it does look a little bit like her, actually. So, who knows? Who knows? I
would put money down, because of the sort of segmented version of the armour. I'm going to say it's actually a Harud, and we're going to get a full Harud army coming out, and they're going to be all like space slug rat people.
Are you just saying this because like squats are now a thing that exists and you can't use them as your default answer?
It's
Correct.
almost like an incantation, isn't it? It's like if I say it, it'll happen, right? Surprisingly,
why not bring back the monkeys? Bring back the Ogtungas and give them their guns.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. I want to see 2,000 points of Jokero coming over the mountain, coming to get you.
Hell yeah.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine the first rule would be screaming and whooping? And everyone has to take a morale test because of the sheer amount of noise that these space orangutans are making whilst fighting blasters.
Unless they're noise marines, of course. I mean, noise marines would love that.
Roll a 6, throw feces at the enemy blind.
The other rule that
Death Guard would love that.
True.
The other rule that the Jokero would have would be, for every time you take a shot, roll a dice. On a 1 to 10, you've taken the weapon apart and made a watch.
Oh, I'm so with Adam on this. Mr. White, you are absolutely correct. They do need to update the Defiler.
Yeah.
Looking at it, it's an old mini now. I mean, it's like the Defiler was the first demon engine in 40k. It was the very first demon engine in 40k, and it came out with the 3.5 codex many years ago. It was a big deal.
Still sold in metal.
God, jeez.
Because it was, wasn't it?
It was originally, yeah, I think it was.
It's probably resin now, if you can even get the resin version.
God. But they do need to update it. It does. I mean, it looked great when it first came out, but they could do with making it a little bit more demonic now.
I didn't love the Defilers. I thought they were okay. I preferred the Chaos Dreadnought. Because I primarily remember the Defilers from the Dawn of War games, and they're interesting enough visually, but I like the big stompy boy more so than a weird spider crab thing with one cannon in its mouth.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Although I must say, I love one of my favourite new miniatures more recent miniatures for Chaos is the Hellbrute. I love that miniature so much.
Yeah, I could never
Fleshy
get away
boy.
with the Hellbrute either.
Fleshy boy.
The one that
I don't hate it. It's just it's one of those things.
Yeah,
like, it's not a Dreadnought. I like the Dreadnought. The Chaos Dreadnought was so
They've
good.
really tried to move them away from being the Chaos Dreadnought, haven't they? Like, it's probably it does make sense, I suppose. I mean, I know what you mean though. I love those old second ed Chaos Dreadnoughts. I remember having a couple of them. I had a couple of them. Back in the game, they were awesome. They were awesome, but they were mad. They had a whole 2-page table of insanity that you had to roll on to see what they do. Because sometimes they would fire everything they had at one of your own units. And I mean everything they had. And that was a bad thing back then. That was a very bad thing back then.
Do you remember the Stampede rules?
What, where they just run forward at the closest unit and stomp it? Yeah, I do.
Oh God,
I do. They were They were loads of fun, actually. That was their whole shtick. They were a load of fun. They weren't necessarily effective because half the time they'd rampage through your own battle lines and like kill your essential units. But they were a lot of fun to have back then.
Do you know what else is really fun and charges around and doing tons and tons of damage? Chaos Juggernauts with big old chainswords for horns.
Whoa! What, right? I mean, these guys look amazing, don't they?
Lord Invoctus.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to take you on a little journey with me here and explain why I don't like should we say, the current Juggernauts, right?
What, the present ones?
Yeah, the ones that have been out since 2003.
Oh God, 10 years ago.
It's a bit of
No, 20.
20.
You said 2003, nearly 20 years ago.
I was going to say, nearly 20 years ago.
I thought that was the joke of I refuse to acknowledge how time works because
that's the acknowledgement that I'm stupid.
So, if you look at the ones that came before that, they've got this real sense of forward motion, right? We're talking the Rogue Trader ones. I don't know if you guys remember them. They are absolutely glorious. They're just wonderfully hefty.
The Rogue Trader ones looked more like bulldogs, didn't they? They were very strange.
They were, yeah. They're just absolutely wonderful. And then when the ones came out towards I think it's the beginning of third ed, they just didn't work for me. They were too stationary. They didn't look like so to speak. There we go. Whilst these things don't look like they're moving as much, they don't look like they're moving at all. They are very, very silly. I'm just trying to get this.
Oh, do you mean the second Ed one, Adam? The one that's the Chaos champ, the Khorne champion on the Juggernaut that's just standing still
Yes.
on all four
Yeah,
legs. Yeah, that's second Ed. He was a big, chunky metal boy. He was.
He was.
You could chuck him at someone and it would really hurt.
Oh God.
Right, I think that's it. Yep, there we go. Right. So that's now for people to see. Interesting. Yeah. So
I mean, that's like the whole thing with Juggernauts as well, isn't it? They're supposed to be like forward momentum made demonically manifest.
yes, yeah, and there's something about them going from these weird, wrinkly metal bulldogs to the solid brass of the later ones that just didn't work for me. I don't know what it is. The concept just didn't fit, and I've never liked them. Then this guy is hit, and the sheer amount of movement he's got, oh my God, he is glorious. And this is a really
Did you
weird
see
thing
in the article?
Yeah.
They actually say that he's going to have companions too.
Yeah.
You're going to get a unit in the World Eaters book of Khorne Berserker riding Juggers, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt in my mind.
I wonder if they're going to do anything with these to just make them AOS, because they're in AOS as well, Juggernaut, right?
Oh yeah,
aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're Blood Crushers, aren't they? They're called Blood Crushers.
No, that's it, Blood Crushers, yeah.
And again, really nasty cavalry unit, like really nasty.
Oh yeah, they're hard hitters, very hard hitters. The only thing it's not a huge criticism, but I would have liked to have seen is maybe a bit broader shoulders on the beasts.
Mm-hmm.
They seem almost a little thin. Maybe because you go up so high from like I guess where the shoulder point would be, and it just goes up. If you could have just pulled them out a bit wider, just make it look a bit more stocky.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's just to keep it in, the base size.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a special character too, isn't he? He's a new special character for the World Eaters. That's great.
Oh, there's the old one.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute, isn't it?
I like. Yeah, you want to pet him and say he's a good boy.
Yeah, there he is. He's sweet.
I do like the thing for in Lord Infoctus. He leads thunderous charges of blood crushers and berserkers and frontal attacks that light the sky aflame, and some claim he even rides the flames themselves. Doom Rider.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to get some more. I'm really hoping that Doom Rider makes a reappearance. No, I'm alone with that one. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, it looks like they're throwing a lot at this World Eaters Codex, doesn't it? It looks like it's going to be just. I mean, we've already seen suggestions of the Terminators that are coming. They've shown little bits of them here and there. It looks like it's going to be an amazing release.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even collect World Eaters, but obviously, I'm going to be all over this Codex.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that.
How do you paint your World Eaters, George? Would you paint them white and blue, and then just blood for the Blood God, and just pour it over them?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I had a few Khorne Berserkers back in second Ed, but that's the only time I've ever had them. I think I'd go for like a black. I've always liked them in black. I've always felt they look good in black, like the Black Legion Khorne Berserkers look great. I've always liked that, so maybe I'd go for a black and bone colour scheme for them. Something like that, maybe. There is a sub-cult of the World Eaters where they're just all bone. Their armour is completely bone, and that looks lovely too, like gore-spattered bone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to say, are they like antithetical to blood and just going for the skulls?
I think that's probably it, yeah. That's because, again, I mean, Khornate worship, there's so many. It might seem very straightforward, but there are lots of subdivisions of it, and little, you have some war bands that go for the head chopping exclusively. You get some that are all about the blood, drinking the blood. You get, cannibal cults dedicated to Khorne, and
no blood for the Blood God skulls, though. Yes, lots of skulls.
Lots of skulls for the Skull Throne.
So
and so on and so forth.
I've just finished Echoes of Eternity, which, by the way, is a fucking incredible book. It's worthy of.
ADB is a genius, isn't he? He's one of those writers. Whatever he touches, he just elevates the material, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of bits in there which I think we'll probably talk about down the line. Yeah, maybe not at the moment, but there's a couple of bits in there that really got to me. The main root thing that got to me out of that is the apothecary. The world...
Oh, Kargos.
Yeah, the World Eater Apothecary, who...
Kargos Blood Splitter, yeah?
Holy shit, I did not expect to come out of the Horus Heresy books wanting to do a World Eater's army. But I do. I really, really do. And the idea of having the white armour, just with all of that red on the front, just that splattered red.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
He writes the World Eaters beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a tendency for them to be very simplistic and very narrow in the fiction. Because they kind of are, that's part of their appeal in many respects. They're very straightforward, right? But ADB has taken them and he's gone very deep into the psychology of them, especially with the butcher's nails ticking away in their heads.
How many times do those nails bite? It's just awful. Absolutely awful.
And the way he communicates that is beautiful.
Yeah.
You can actually feel the agony that those fucking evil devices cause,
What's
right?
I think it's good that they're actually portrayed to be simplistic, because then it hits harder when you have their more personal stories.
Yeah.
Definitely,
it makes them a lot more interesting, because you go, oh wow, they're not just this, but to everybody else.
Exactly
To the outer's appearance, they are nothing but that, but there's more to them.
Exactly that. That's what ADB has really gotten to the crux of with them. He goes very deep into their psychology, and the way the butcher's nails chemically and physically alter their psychology. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And of course then he elevates it, because he takes a celestial or infernal look at it with Angron, who is now a demon Primarch, and he's learning his new nature. Doesn't understand what he is or like how he sustains. And it's absolutely incredible stuff.
Angron and that entire sequence where he has to try to relearn to talk because he's not built for speech anymore. Jesus Christ!
It's awesome. Awesome. I mean, one of my favourite sequences is where he's flying above the siege of the Inner Palace, and he's constantly diving down in like a ball of black fire, but he can't get in.
Yeah.
Because the Emperor's influence is still keeping the demons out at this point. It's faltering, but it's just holding. And the rage and the fury that he can't get down there, and he can't begin the slaughter. It's unbelievably well communicated.
That book it's something else. Considering it is a series of vignettes from all over all over Earth, it ties together and makes something absolutely astonishing.
I think one of my favourite points in it, my favourite vignettes, is early on when you get a look from inside the Titan that's advancing on the wall, and the walls of the outer palace have collapsed, so the Titans now, there's no cohesion anymore. The Titans aren't together in squadrons or units, they don't know what they're doing. The people inside, they've been fighting inside the Titans for weeks or months, so they are filthy, they're disgusting, they're sustaining literally on their own recycled waste, which is sloshing out all over the place. They've got demons whispering in their minds and in their ears, and they just don't know what's happening. Half of them don't even know why they're fighting anymore, And this Titan starts to fall. It loses its footing, and it just, in a moment of decision, it fires its harpoon through the abdomen of the Titan in front, which is not an enemy, it's a friend, and hauls itself up via it's so cool. It's so cool.
The bit that really got me was the payoff to, you do know, don't you? You're not her. If you remember that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty. That's real nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing I think will ever come close to Arkenland's Concrete, which is my favourite thing ever in the entirety of Horus Heresy.
Yeah, he's good.
Arkenland and his Concrete is amazing. But
Arkan is awesome. Oh, yeah. He's one of the best characters in the Heresy.
And he's got a monkey, which is, that makes me happy. He does, he has a monkey, but because nobody knows how a monkey works, because they're long gone, or what noises they make, it just runs around making these weird binaric squeaks.
Yeah.
Just
Which I can understand. So it's like he's a human, but he understands. It's like, all right, fine.
well, he went off and had a love affair with a.
Can I also hold up a hand for his portrayal of Sanguinius?
Sanguinius versus the Bane. Jesus.
His portrayal of,
Wow.
I mean, like, ADB, whenever he does a Primarch, he just gets it, doesn't he? He just gets to the essence, the core of them, and he creates the very best representations of those Primarchs. You know, Rogel Dawn is brilliant in this book.
Yeah.
Sanguinius is wonderful, wonderful. If he's not your favourite loyalist Primarch by the end, he'll be edging that way, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have to make Sanguinius like the best, though, don't they?
Yes.
They have to.
Yes.
To make you love him.
Exactly that. But he is a great character. I mean, he's a wonderful, wonderful character in this book. And it is actually, it's built it up. It is going to be very sad when it hits. Vulcan, though, like Vulcan's in this book too. He's fantastic. Magnus is brilliant in this book, right?
Oh yeah.
You know when Vulcan swings his hammer at him and Magnus just catches it,
Oh yeah.
and it's like, sorry, not here.
Yeah.
I'm God here, basically.
and just the frustration of Magnus of, oh, for fuck's sakes, please, just stop hitting me. And my theory is that Vulcan is the beginning of the Legion of the Damned. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Given their imagery, you know, the flame imagery and whatnot, that would make sense.
It makes
wouldn't it?
perfect sense. They all come out the webway. That's where they come from. Yeah, that's my theory. That's my theory.
And given like the time warping dilation stuff, because you know there's a point in the book, I mean spoilers by the way guys, but where Vulcan actually encounters honest to God Rubrique, and the rubric hasn't happened yet. Right?
Yeah.
Because the time dilation is so weird, right? He actually encounters Rubrique. It's like, whoa, okay, that's very strange.
Messing with his mind.
Just remember, guys, while you're reading this fantastic book series, at some point there's Trazen going around stealing people.
Yeah, always and forever. Yeah.
Just putting them in the museum, like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, I'll just pinch these guys.
Yeah.
What I really would love to do is a Trazen modelled with a giant butterfly net, just chasing one of the Primarchs. Just
that would be good fun.
There's two dioramas I want to do.
That would be good fun.
And it's that Trazen with the butterfly net, and it's another one where it's just a road with a manhole cover open, and just Ark and Land pouring a bucket into the manhole.
Of course, because at this point, they all like Abaddon is buried in that concrete, right? So they all think Abaddon's dead. So there's going to have to be a moment where he re-emerges.
Yeah, where he gets out.
Because in the, I mean, I don't know, they have changed a lot, so they may change this, but in the established fluff, he is on board the Vengeful Spirit when the Emperor boards, right? So, yeah.
Maybe he gets out the hole and he's cleaning his armour because he's all covered in gunk.
Maybe that's it, yeah. It's got, like, bits of concrete in the joints and whatnot.
Washing his top knot.
Just walking down the street like Mr. Blobby. Fucking Ark and Land.
Tell no one of this. Little Horace, you'll take this to your grave, I swear to God, if you tell anyone.
Speaking of...
I mean, there have been some big changes. So, like what happens to Yagati Khan. That's very different from the established fluff. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's very different.
I love Khan so much.
Me too. He was a great character, right?
He's so good.
Great character in Warhawk.
And the sequence with the fucking platform made me... Oh, it brought the hairs right up on my arms. Just...
Utterly brilliant.
Wow.
Utterly brilliant.
Yeah, he had a nice little bit in Solar War when he's just like, hey, do you set that bird free of yours? And she's like, yeah, I set my bird free. And it comes back, it's like, oh, that's nice. Dawn's in a cage that he's made for himself and it gets smaller. It's like, oh, it's nice. Especially because I don't know too much about the Khan either.
No.
It's nice to hear him do things and talk.
He's one of the more obscure Primarchs, that's for sure.
Yeah. Even in terms of the fiction, it doesn't feel like there's been a lot written about him. That's probably deliberate again, so you underestimate him, I guess, right?
Definitely.
And he just ends up being so good. Like, just
Yeah,
absolutely
he's a fabulous character, and of course he's one of the great heroes of the heresy, right? I mean, were it not for his actions, then the traitors would have overrun Terra just like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, he's so cool.
I mean, Warhawk is a brilliant
Yeah.
book. That's actually a really fantastic piece of work. One of my favourite bits in that book, again, kind of minor spoilers, is that bit when the Death Guard, towards the end, when they get to see themselves, what they've become. And there's like, across the Legion, there is this mass realisation of what's happened to them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic moment.
And you know that a fair few of them just want to go and have a couple of words with Matarian. Who
Are we the bad guys here? Yes.
Yeah, they do
yes,
have
we are.
that.
Look at us.
They do have that moment. They do have a sort of, oh dear.
Was Garrow right? Yes.
Might have been.
Idiots. Garrow was right. Damn it, you moron.
It's weird how much you come
What
out of those
was he?
books just feeling sorry for Matarian. He's just you poor.
No, I remember what he did to Magnus. I don't feel like
Actually, yeah, that is a real point. Yeah, I feel
he's a real racist towards Magnus, and
He
like
is.
any psyche, he's like very much
Yeah.
fuck him. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well.
and then he becomes
see.
one himself. He starts meddling
Yeah.
with occultism and whatnot himself, the hypocritical twat. Yeah,
I was gonna say, well, is he Space Wolf now? What's going on?
exactly
Allegiance.
that. Exactly that.
There are no mages on Fenris.
Yeah.
Do you know what else there isn't on Ferris?
Shit.
There's many things that aren't on Fenris, and one of the things that isn't on Fenris is the Shadow Vaults.
Wolves.
For we enter the Gallow Dark. It's Kill Team, and we are looking at the whole new part to... What the hell is this thing, the Gallow Dark? It appears to be that eventually, over multiple games, you're going to be getting a fucking spaceship. Like...
It looks good, doesn't it? I love the actual board and everything. It looks really good fun.
But am I wrong here in saying this? That it appears that like we're going to get like a load of different Kill Team boxes here, and we're just going to end up with a board that's a full spaceship.
It does look like it's heading that way, doesn't it?
It's mental.
I think this is what Kill Team should maybe always have been, like almost Space Hulk, because I remember when you did the Galapox guys, Gruff, and the tight confined space to me seems to give a bit more of an interesting gameplay feel than like a big granted, like an open area, you've got multiple levels to it. I think a confined spaceship to me is more interesting, and it helps separate it as well from just 40k.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah, I think
and Necromunda actually.
It's got more atmosphere, doesn't it? It's got that,
Yeah,
like you said, that space hulky feeling where it feels slightly frightening, especially if you're in like a confined room. I like that. I like that very much.
How could you ever be frightened when you've got a pet tank Wally robot thing that just rolls around and shooting from its really cute looking eyes? That sentry turret is like the cutest thing that's ever come out of 40k, I'm telling you.
It is quite cool, isn't it? That, you know what it looks like to me? It looks a little bit like the Transformers Micromaster vehicles. It's got that feeling about it,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I actually think it looks like an Action Master version of Johnny 5. From Short Circuit 2.
If you make it a bit more planty, it could be one of Sawboss's friends.
Oh, yeah.
God. Jason the Wheeled Warriors. My God.
I mean, the one with a chainsaw on could easily be Sawboss.
Yeah, right.
So, Andy's doing...
I suppose it could. You could really convert that into Sawboss, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So, you all heard it here first. Andy's doing a Jason the Wheeled Warriors Imperial Guard army.
They're not Necrons.
Although, I mean, there are some lovely Necrons in this set. I love that Cryptek.
Yeah.
He's very simple, but I really like him.
Oh, he is. He's...
the one on the Scarab, the new one.
The other one.
Okay.
The other one. He's very cool. I like him. But
he's got a fancy name because he's not just a Cryptek, is he?
Oh, is he a character?
Title.
Right. Okay.
I don't think he's a character. I think he's not a plasmancer or a cryomancer. He's like one of the new ones.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Because there is just a standard Cryptek in there.
Yes.
He's just the model from ages ago.
An upgraded Immortal Despotek. So...
Okay.
I've never come
Fair
across the
enough.
word apprentech before, and I hate it. I hate the word apprentech. I'm just going to put it out that's the nails across the chalkboard of my soul, that one. Sorry. But the minute...
When are they going to make plushies of the little huggable Necron creatures?
Well,
the little spider
They
things?
did
They
squigs,
really
they
should,
did
shouldn't they?
nerdlings. They should really do one of these little things. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
I never got the Griffhound. You just made me realise I never got the plushie Griffhound. I've got the squig and I've got the nerdling, but I never got the Griffhound. I'm going to have to look that one up, see if I can find one.
Did you not return the squig since he was a danger to children?
Don't be foolish. I on one hand, I trust my son to not eat a squig, and on the other hand, he lives with me. The squig is mine.
Is this a new Deathmark miniature as well that's amongst
Yes.
the Necrons? I thought so. That's really cool, actually.
Just the Necrontins are really sweet. They're just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, everything's new apart from the standard Cryptek, which is just...
Yeah.
It's still a good model. You don't need to change it.
Nope.
But it's also a little bit annoying because the death marks are, like, really nice and they look nice and fancy compared to the, you know, the older ones, which are okay, but they're a bit fiddly to do.
Yes.
Big Swing and D says there's alternative heads for the existing kits. So,
Yeah,
Very
technically,
nice.
yeah.
that's cool.
Very nice.
And I do have to...
And you've also got the Astra Militaria
Yep, I
against
was
them, of course.
just about to hit them because I'm really happy with the way these guys have come out. They look really, really cool.
They do look good. They look really good. I mean, they are they're Cadian, aren't they?
Yeah, is it Krasric? Kazkrin. The Kazkrin.
I don't know.
Yeah, they are the elite guard of Cadia. Or what was Cadia.
Cool.
They,
What was Cadian?
yeah, they're the
'Cause it's
elite
not
guard
anymore,
of the
is it?
bomby bits. But yeah, they're really, really sweet. They've got a real aliens vibe to them, which I quite like.
Yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very aliens inspired, definitely.
It does feel like they've gone back to that well and just drawn from it a bit more. Which
They're very dynamic as well. Like each miniature has got like a little hint of character about them. There's like they're doing something, or they've got some personal effect about them. I really like that. I really
They're
like
going down
that.
the kill team aesthetic when they're making a team, thankfully, which is make
Yes.
everything an individual, make them all
Make them a character,
unique
right?
and interesting. Yeah.
And I like the guy who's...
It's good, and of course you've got to work harder at that with the humour, like the Astra Militaria, because of course for one thing they're all uniform, which is can be problematic in that regard, and they're human, right? They have to.
I mean,
they have to do
you're
something
not
to
wrong,
make them more
but
interesting.
they did a really good job with the Death Marks of Creed or whatever there was. The one
The Death
previously
Corps,
when it
yeah.
came with the arcs, they did a great job with them. So it's probably
They
just
did.
like, oh, just do it again.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they seem to have found their stride when it comes to the Astra Militaria recently, which is good because they're imminent, aren't they?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about them later, but it's nice to see like them not look shit anymore. When I
Yes,
say
isn't
shit,
it?
I don't mean shit. I mean they don't look like a 20-year-old army visually anymore.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. They look like they belong again, which
Yes.
is nice to see, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And the guy holding the little scanner, he's just got such an expression of, well, fuck my life. This is how I end. I just really like him.
My sandwich isn't going to be delivered today, and I'm
Oh,
going
that's what he's doing. He's actually checking his Amazon delivery. Moving on, though, we've still got spaceships, so we're going to move on to boarding actions. So this is a little weird thing.
Oh yeah, so this is like, this is the new sort of rule set for 40k, right?
Kind of, yeah. So it's basically it's opening up a narrative idea of being able to play 40k on spaceships with boarding actions and various things like that. So whilst
Makes sense. Well, my pen, not bad. I've got it back now. Don't worry, it didn't escape. I've still got it.
there's something very important to go into this. So we've got two stories here. One is what is the Ark of Omens, and one is how the boarding actions work. So I'm going to combine these two things together. Basically, what you have here is a larger version of what Kill Team's been doing. So Kill Team is the skirmish attack. This is the full-blown army, taking massive battles on very twisty corridors. I'm all in for this. This is like...
Totally.
This is my bread and butter.
I mean, so much of the fiction... This makes sense, because so much of the fiction is this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a way of distinguishing and introducing like a nice new narrative element to 40k.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm all in for this. Because if you do with this, then you can really start playing around with the idea. Use this rule set to make hefty jungles. Use this rule set to do fight like wars through titans. You know, you could do all sorts of really interesting things with it. And I'm all up for it. It's anything that changes the dynamic of having your army on one side of the board, their army on the other side of the board, and smash until they fight. There's nothing wrong with that. I love doing it. Yeah, it's the very tenet of what wargaming is. But anything that adds that extra slice to it, anything that adds that extra, just that little bit of num to it, I'm all in for. And
it's just a clever way of refreshing 40k as well, isn't it? You know, well, as the edition grinds on, just making it, introducing that nice little element that makes it something new, a bit different. But they've also used it, it seems, as a basis for launching like the next narrative part of 40k.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Which is probably the best way to do things, right?
Yeah.
Which
it'll make it'll hopefully change the meta of the game.
I hope so.
Quote unquote meta of the game. Well, it has to, because anything that's long range, like how are Tau going to survive this? Like, because they're like long range, they're going to get eaten.
Like the armies that are considered to be killer armies at the moment are going to find this difficult, right? So Tau, very difficult. Votan, how are Votan going to function in this? It's going to be very interesting.
Like, Tyranids are going to do well, I imagine, because Space Hulk, you know, they're all melee focused.
Chaos Space Marines are
Chaos
going to kill.
Terminators.
They're going to be amazing.
Yeah, especially with the World Eaters coming in. It's like, oh, so this is made for the World Eaters then. Okay, fair, you know.
Pretty much.
And it'll force players to either buy or dust off, like, for a Necron player, it'll force us to dust off, like, oh god, what they call the zombie guys with the flesh on them.
Oh, the flayed ones.
The flayed ones, thank you God, my brain died. Yeah, the flayed ones. It'll force you to pick up those guys and use them, because Death Marks, I can't imagine they're going to be as good here as, like, flayed ones.
Blight Lord Terminators for the Death Guard are going to be amazing in this system.
Yeah, the Death Guard should just be good, right? Because if you can make them slowly walk around corners and just keep behind cover, then getting close, you die.
Yeah.
Can't kill them fast enough.
Absolutely. And given, you know, all of the buffs and debuffs that they have, like, in terms of their auras and whatnot, they're going to be incredible in this. Absolutely incredible.
One interesting idea.
Me too. I'm all in. I'm all in on this one.
Who wants to get excited about things?
I wonder what the rules will be for vehicles.
Can't do them.
Will they just go no, or will they be like, oh, I wondered if they'd like you have hangar fights. So like in a hangar you could set up like a vehicle or two, but that would be about it.
Like
that might be fun.
Then if you could lead like infantry and you could blast them and be like, oh, maybe you could like open a cargo bay door and thrust it out into space. Alien Queen style.
What it says is anything that's too big can't get in, so dreadnoughts are out.
That's a shame. I would have liked to have seen like maybe one dreadnought.
But my guess would be...
Does it give like a base size to rule out stuff, or does it say as long as it's not a quote-unquote vehicle?
It just says vehicles, no. But I'm going to guess that bikes are going to be allowed.
I would think so.
You probably can't get like a demon prince in here, right? He's going to be a real squash, or a great unclean one.
Okay.
A great unclean
They're
one
not
getting
vehicles.
stuck.
If you...
he's stuck in a corridor.
If you go to the second story, Andy, the What Are the Arcs of Omen, and just roll down to the first... it's the third picture, I think. What we've got here is a load of Chaos Marines, and in the background... My guess is that is the first look that we've got of something from the Dark Mechanicum.
I imagine
Do you
it could
see
be.
it?
Yeah, it looks it, doesn't it?
It's a three-headed, Zechian, spider-legged tentacle monster.
It's a weird one,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's a chicken spider.
It's a chicken spider.
Chicken spider Cerberus.
Chicken spider. But
That's exactly what it is.
here's the other thing that I actually found really interesting, and it's a little quote here. Following player feedback from across the community, this series won't include extra rules for standard games of Warhammer 40,000. You've told us that you don't want to juggle army rules spread over multiple books. Instead, you get something better. The first volume of Arcs of Omen present a self-contained expansion, a whole new game mode called Boarding Action. These rules will allow your armies to fight intense boarding action battles through claustrophobic corridors of Voidcraft, Space Hulk, bunkers and more, using standalone sets of the new terrain first found in Kill Team Into the Dark. So, what that says to me is that they've learned not to just keep throwing army rules into new books, and the expansion will be the rules for playing this version of 40k, and you don't need to do anything to fart around for anything for your army itself. Perfect.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's really good. It means you're not you're not carrying around libraries.
Exactly, and that's perfect.
All the time.
Spot on. Well done.
Cross-referencing this and that, and
Yeah, I've always said these things need to be. There need to be versions of armies in these books, not stuff that you need for your army. So, like the Fabius Bile army in one of the. Oh, what the hell was it called? It wasn't Vigilus. Psychic Awakening.
It was Psychic Awakening.
The Psychic Awakening. Perfect. That's the type of stuff that should be in those books. But actually having things that you need for your army at the base level shouldn't. And this is the way that it needs to be done, and I'm really happy to read that sentence.
No, it's good. The Creations of Bile, which they've now rolled into the main Chaos Space Marine book, which is really lovely.
And of course, you can win your own copy of the first Arcs of Open book by having a My Warhammer account and signing up. So,
interesting. Interesting. There's that hammer in the artwork. That hammer has been on the Rumour Engine as a miniature.
Oh, which piece of art on the?
There's a piece of art with a big flaming hammer. We don't know what it's from yet. We haven't seen the miniature. I wonder what it's going to be.
I don't know. That's interesting. That's very, very cool. So yeah, I'm.
Vulcan?
Oh,
it's chaos. It's definitely chaos.
Okay. Vulcan.
It's like
insane Vulcan after going through
possibly.
another maze labyrinth time again.
Possibly.
So, do you know what else makes me super happy apart from having to only have one book to play your army? And that's having one meth. Yeah, crystal meth makes me super, super happy, as it does most people until you run out. You only need one book to play another army, and that other army is the Astra Militarum.
Yay.
Which, if you are a actual person, the Imperial Guard.
Yeah. I don't know anyone that calls them the Astra Militarum.
Nobody calls them that.
Apart from me.
Don't do that.
It's the wrong way of doing it. I know Games Workshop have to do it, but I'll refuse, point blank.
Don't follow the company line. Follow the true Imperial way.
Follow the Imperial truth, boy. So yeah, where the Imperial Guard have been officially announced, and holy mother of fuck nuggets. Yeah.
They look great.
Yeah.
They look great. I mean, they're never going to be my army because I like the big gribbly Lovecraftian stuff, but I'm very pleased for Imperial Guard players. I really am.
Yeah, it's taken a while. I love what they've managed to do here. The smattering of designs taken from various different places. I mean, the World War II style helmets on some of them, and the God, they just look great. I mean, it feels weird to me having them in actual true scale with actual human-sized heads rather than the massive heads that the humans in the future appear to have for quite some time. Which made me, of course, realise how weird it is that humans still look just like humans, considering the time frame. It's one of those thoughts I've never had before, but occurred to me when I realised that these people have normal-sized heads. Just one of those things. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but as much as a guard army isn't something I would want to do unless it was entirely made of nothing but tanks, these guys really are just superb. There's a guy here, and it looks like he's just got plumbing on his back, and that makes me so happy because I don't know why it's there. But it looks like he's got...
No, they look great.
Yeah, I'm really happy. So, yeah. Andy, do you like the Imperial Guard? Hello, Andy.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Oh no! We haven't lost Andy, have we?
He might have run away.
Ah no! But no, I mean it's so good to see because they've been in the doldrums for such a long time.
Oh
haven't
God,
they?
yeah.
They are one of those armies that just hasn't been given any attention at all for so many editions, barring like the odd token little thing here and there. So to see what appears to be an overhaul of more or less the entire range, barring one or two instances, it's very cool to see. It's lovely to see, and like you said, proper human miniatures that look that actually interact with the other miniatures ranges correctly, right?
Yeah, they're just really, really good. They're just solid on every level. I'm surprised at how much I like them, to be honest with you.
I can think of one downside.
The Commissar doesn't look very good. Well, the Commissar... I'll rephrase that. The Commissar doesn't look very dynamic.
Well, okay, well, it wasn't that. My issue with the Commissar, this is a different issue. My issue with the Commissar is he isn't 90% chin. Like
you want you want the Judge Dredd chin on him, don't you?
And I can also see his eyes. I don't like that. I want that cap to be covering his eyes so you only see nose and chin. The other thing I was going to say was we needed one orc. One orc in Astro Militarum armor.
Oh, brilliant.
That's it, just one.
Yeah.
Badly fitted.
You know what
like,
you want?
Really too small for him.
What they should do is just on one miniature in every set, there should just be a tiny little Hydra symbol on every single one, just in every set.
What's that symbol on your chest? Don't worry about
Oh,
it.
don't worry about it. It's nothing.
Don't worry about it. I'm Alfarius.
Oh,
what was that?
nothing.
I'm just saying I'm Alfarius. What?
Yeah.
I like the fact
Don't
you
show off.
got the guy with the plumbing.
What are you talking about? I didn't say a thing.
No, not me at all. No, that's... oh, shh.
Actually, what is that plumbing on his back? It's great.
I assume it's some kind of, like, radio signal thing. But
I think it's a communicator of some description,
it is,
isn't
but it does look like he's just got a toilet on his back, and that thing he's carrying on his chest is where from squats.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like it was a clothesline hanger. You should add some like plastic socks on there.
God, if I did play these guys, that is exactly what I'd do with it.
Turn into a clothesline.
I'd just hang his laundry
Here's something
on it.
I can give you an idea for, George. You should buy these and then pervert them so
Chaos
you can
them
have
up,
your Slaneshi guard.
Yeah, it's a good idea, actually. It's not a bad idea at all.
Mix them with the AOS ones as well, and you can probably get a nice mix of
The
things.
Hedonites, yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
a good idea,
The
actually.
guy with the power fist
That
and the
would work
cigar's
well.
already halfway there. He looks like he's... oh boy, I'll tell you where this power fist is going to go. Oh, it's going to go.
Well, the very notion of a power fist, really.
Yeah.
It's very Slaneshi.
Very
isn't
much
it?
so, yeah. Power fist is the name of what I'm wearing, but it's also the name of what I'm about to do.
90% of Slaneshi apothecarians are pulling stuff out of anuses.
That looks like the actual NHS then. Yeah.
They're yeah, exactly, yeah. These things have to be based in reality, bro.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I was hoovering naked and then I fell on the lamp. An actual thing I
But
have
no,
heard.
I mean, I'm just dead pleased. I'm dead pleased for the Imperial Guard players out there. They've got something. They've got something at long last.
And they did what we said they should do.
Yes.
Fix the infantry. The vehicles are
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
fine.
right.
They could do with an upgrade, but whatever.
It does look as though they're really leaning hard on the infantry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing that needed to be changed. Super bad.
This is the Imperial Guard. It's the Astra Militaria. It's about the humans, right? It's about them.
Yeah.
It's they're the narrative core of the army. So yeah.
Do you think we will get? I think we'll get some
Yeah.
vehicles just
Yeah.
when the official
yeah.
release
Yeah.
comes out.
Definitely.
I don't know how many though.
Maybe, I mean, maybe
2
they'll do
three?
like a new Lehman Russ or something.
I could see them doing for the big one a Baneblade, like their big
Yeah,
expensive kit, one
God.
Baneblade, or an equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a,
Something like
a
that. But
super
Lehman-
heavy, yeah.
Yeah, but Lehman Russ for like the 60 quid miniature, I could easily see that. That makes sense because it's the tank.
It's the Imperial Guard tank, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it does make sense.
Was anyone else surprised to see
But
new
no,
sentinels?
very pleased. Yeah.
A little bit. They've gone for the oh no, we've been shot in the head and we're dead kind of mentality of don't worry about screens for protection.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as the Space Marine baby carrier though, but it's kind of edging that way.
The Eldari have really got it down when it comes to the walker technology, haven't they? You know.
They didn't bring those back though. To be fair, did they? Not since second Dead.
Third, but
at the very least, they had the little background detail that said that they have a force field. You know that's
true.
I could kind of deal with that. You know, these guys haven't even got that.
The Necrons kind of did that as well, didn't they, with the Destroyers, with the original release when there was just like the little land speeder thing, and they're just on chairs out there. But they're robots, so who cares?
They're on big flying chairs, weren't they? That was it.
They're robots.
So
no one cares
silly.
about them. They've got no souls.
So funny.
But no, for these the walkers, they looked like Sentinels, just a little nicer.
Yeah.
They're just a bit more detailed and a bit more interesting.
Oddly enough, the one with the closed canopy reminds me of a two-legged version of the Mechanicus four-legged spider thing.
I can see that.
Yeah, funnily enough, Addy, I was looking at these. I was just thinking that you can see like an aesthetic that's carried over from the Adeptus, which makes sense, right? Which makes absolutely
100%.
perfect sense.
There'll be some like lore-wise, like they adapted the STL or something like that. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I totally. I mean, that's something I really like to see actually amongst the Imperial armies. That cross pollination. I think it's kind of fun.
And not just as in, it's got a plasma gun. It's like, whatever. The actual aesthetics kind of going towards that stuff. 100%. The only thing we just need to never see. No hover stuff for the Imperial Guard.
I don't want to see that. I don't.
No one wanted that for the Space Marines, but I mean, we got it, and we've got to stick with it now at this point.
See,
no weird 4x4 dune buggy.
Don't want to see it.
No one wanted to see that, but we've got that now too.
can I ask you both a question? Right? It's a serious question. You're on the battlefields of the 41st millennium. You're, armoured in a certain way to fight for your emperor. Hashtag not my emperor.
Not my emperor, thank you very much.
And,
not mine.
you're going onto a planet that could be on fire, it could be toxic, it could be numerous things. The air could be entirely made of wet farts.
Oh, so we just die instantly because the Imperial Guard are not prepared.
Well, no, you might get a gas mask. But unfortunately, the thing that you're riding on is a horse, so you don't have horse gas masks. On one hand, I am real happy to see the Rough Riders of Attila return, because they are amazing.
Of Attila.
But my God, have I ever been this concerned about the sake of a horse in space? Because I really am.
You know what? There are so many ways around this bullshit. They're genetically engineered or something.
Let's be honest. I think the horses are tread better in the 40k millennium than people are. I reckon the horses are probably less expendable than humans.
That's probably true. That is almost certainly true.
Yeah.
Do you find it weird that horses still exist?
Right, yes.
No.
I don't know.
No,
I mean,
I'd say no, because I could see them, at the very least, at minimal, they'll be like a rich person's thing.
Yeah.
Like a governor or something. I'm not sure about practical military uses. I'm not sure about that. But I could see them being on like the fancy worlds where like rich people go for holidays and stuff like that. What are they called? The garden worlds, is that what they're called?
They're called garden worlds, yeah.
Yeah, I could see them being there. It's like, look at the horses.
Yeah, pretty horses, yeah.
But
no, I'm so glad these guys are back.
They look fun.
Yeah.
They do, don't
them.
they? They look silly, they look fun, brilliant stuff. More of this, please.
Yeah.
More of the silliness.
Want someone to cut the rider and the half the horse and just give the horse arms. So it's got 2 legs and 2 big arms, but no horse bum. We have a new species. Replacement for the ogrins.
Yeah.
Horsegrins.
It's like an equine minotaur in a weird kind of way,
but
right?
reversed,
exactly.
Right,
But
Yeah.
very peculiar.
I can see someone who did a digibash of the horse riding the man, which was great. And I was like, I don't even know how they did that. I was like, what the fuck?
I want to see someone model a unit of them where there are no horses and they're just holding 2 halves of coconut.
Yeah.
But they're still floating at the same height.
Yes.
Oh.
Brave Sir Robin.
Oh, mate. Oh, do you know what would be amazing?
You know,
Right? It's the riders, but they're on like a motorised stick with a horse's head on the end, and they're just flying down. Oh my god! But yeah, the Rough Riders are back, and they're absolutely brilliant. They're gorgeous, gorgeous miniatures. Those horses are beautiful.
Yeah. They're really cool.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Sentences I never thought I'd
And
say.
they're just a lovely throwback.
Sentences I never thought I'd say. Those horses are beautiful. I hate horses. They terrify me. Fucking mad animals.
They're kind of unpredictable creatures, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're mad eyes.
Kind of dumb too. Bless them.
But wow, they do look great, don't they? These are very detailed miniatures.
Yeah.
The cloth on them is just...
As a unit,
Yeah.
they're just impressive, aren't they? They're just very, very impressive.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous.
I like the historical influences on them as well. I mean, they're obviously they've got a little bit of Cossack going on in there, a little bit of like the Khans going on in there, which is really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, they're superb, and I'm really happy to see them return.
Yeah, lovely to see them back.
Which makes me wonder.
Is their lance just a grenade?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
yeah.
they charge, and do they die when it explodes?
No, because the grenade sticks into their enemy, they ride off, then the grenade goes off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it like exploded on impact.
Yeah, so they
shoot
just
someone and then it exploded.
they're a suicide squad. Yeah, they just.
I didn't really know what the practicality was. I was just like, this
I
seems
love
like a
that.
weird unit.
What a great idea. You know, again, that would be very Imperial Guard, wouldn't it? That would actually make sense within the fluff.
One of them clearly has like a cattle prod.
Yes.
So I thought he was the one to like the ones that didn't want to commit suicide. He'd poke them into like getting moving. Go on.
Well, apparently they've got like weapon options, haven't they? They can take either the frag tip or the is it a melter tip?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can either have like the fragmentation grenade or it's like a melter gun on the end of the lance. It's kind
if you
of
look
cool,
at it,
really.
it's +2 strength, -4 AP with a 3 damage.
That's pretty good. So they're kind of like tank and heavy armor
Yeah.
hunters, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a plastic tip as well,
Sorry.
right? Okay.
They probably have to be pretty good like damage because I imagine these guys probably could get cut down quickly.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, they're going to be fragile as all hell because
Yeah.
that's just there's no heavy armor in the Astra Militario outside of the vehicles, you know.
Also, they're fucking horses.
And they're just
Yeah,
a
they're
horse.
just...
It's just a horse, yeah. It is just a horse.
On one hand,
That's
you've got
absolutely
a
true.
sentient fungus that decided to stand up and reproduce asexually and eats everything that it sees and just constantly shouts and screams and has created space travel via rocks and will pick up a gun and it doesn't matter if the gun has ammunition in it as long as that sentient fucking fungus thinks it's going to fire, it'll fire. And on the other side, you've got a man on a horse. The horse
The
is
man on
dead.
a horse, yeah.
You know where Fabius Bile has gone bad? What he should have done is he should have got horses and created like super horses to be an anti-orc weapon. Horses love carrots. Why can't they be genetically modified to eat orcs?
To eat orcs, yeah.
Yeah.
So what you really want against the orcs, you know, if you want like an ultimate vegetarian creature, you want like big bunny rabbits, right?
The bunny riders of Attila.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah, that's going to be...
They could go stomping as well. If they're big enough, they could hop and land on orcs and squish them.
If I ever do...
What's that movie, the Night of the Jackalope?
Yes!
Where they're giant rabbits.
Night of the
that?
Lupus.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh
That's
my
it.
God.
Fuck me sideways, I did not expect that.
That's a thing, right?
Jesus
Sorry, orcs.
So yeah, what I was going to say was, if I ever do an Imperial Guard army, I'm going to completely theme them around rabbits. So, so moving into AOS, where there are possibly rabbits, shall we talk about some barbarians that aren't chaos related? Because
My goodness,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, what a turn up, right?
I'm all in.
This is basically new. Yeah?
Yeah.
Whenever there have been like a barbarian archetype in the fantasy battle system, they've always been chaos worshippers.
Yes.
Right? Always.
But these guys are basically animalistic spirit worshippers. They don't.
Which, I mean, to be fair, could still mean that they're kind of chaos worshippers in a roundabout way, but
Yeah, but these guys are really, really sweet. I love them. I love them. I absolutely adore them. They feel very Conan.
they're very unusual, aren't they? I mean, they're aesthetically, they're kind of removed from almost anything that's been in AOS before, which is really nice. It's good to see.
Yeah.
Always up for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I do love the Underworld's way of exploring different parts of AOS. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah, me
as
too.
much as me and Andy have played a fair chunk of Underworlds now, and I don't know about you, Andy, but
It's so slow.
it just doesn't work for me.
Oh, is it? Is it a slow game system? Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought so.
No,
but
you
it's
wouldn't,
it feels, at least to when me and Gruff played the computer version, just plodding along.
Really? Oh, that's sad.
I think the problem is it doesn't feel like you do very much.
Right,
That's where the issue lies for me. If it was a bit quicker and had maybe 10 turns instead of 3, maybe it would feel a bit better, but it didn't work for me. That doesn't really work for me.
Right.
But
on the positive
the
side,
miniatures
nice
are
miniatures.
gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
I mean, was it you guys who said that when the new Slaves to Darkness comes out, like most of the mortal like the non-Chaos Warrior units are going to be just the sort of tribes that they've established?
Yeah, they're from Warcry.
That's
That's
awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Awesome. That makes me want to collect that army.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It's like, whoa, I love that.
Well,
I love it.
I've got a theory. Well, not a theory. I've got a feeling. What I really want to do is get the Slaves to Darkness book, and I want to build an army around the Ogroids. Because I love the Ogroids. The name, not so much, but the actual miniatures and the idea of them, I really, really like.
The idea behind them.
Yeah. The bits.
And it looks possible now as well, doesn't it? With the various different Ogroid units that are out there, it looks fairly possible.
Well, you have the Ogroids, then you have the Cyclopean guys as the heavy hitters, and then you have a couple of units of humans.
Yeah, and there's also the thaumaturges, which you can include from this book too. The wizards.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they're great.
Who are very
They're
good,
the big
by
bull
the way.
dudes, aren't they? The big bull dudes.
That's right. Hang on, let me
Yeah.
find the Ogroid thaumaturge. They used to be part of Destruction, didn't they? Apparently, according to their background, and then they were betrayed, or they turned to Chaos, or some shenanigans like that.
Yeah, they're really, really
Where is he?
cool. I like them a lot.
Oh, not a picture of the miniature? That's a surprise.
Hey, it's not an old miniature.
Gotta be in there
They are
somewhere.
not old miniatures.
He has got to be in here. Oh, there he is. There he is. Ogroid thaumaturge. At the bottom there, can you see?
Down.
Boop.
Down.
Boop.
Push the book down.
There you go.
Hey. Boop. Oh, there
It's
he
out of
is.
focus,
Yeah.
but
It's fine. It's fine.
nothing we can do about that.
There we
Yeah,
go.
they're really, really cool.
But that's it, basically. They are cool, and they're very. I mean, these ones, the ones in the Zeech book, are particularly cool because they've got like all of the physical capabilities of the Ogroids, but they're also wizards as well. So
Oh, Zinj, why not?
pretty good,
Everything's a wizard.
right? Pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm liking the stuff that's happening in AOS. I want it to have a bit more fanfare.
Yes.
As we've mentioned, I want it to have a bit more of like, whoa, like what 40k gets.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be honest, the aesthetic here doesn't do it for me. I remember seeing this and being like, oh, this is the thing that's coming along with the really cool undead.
Yeah.
I don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're bad minis. It's just the aesthetic doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's my style either, to be honest. It's not my thing, but it's one of those things where I'm glad they exist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're well done. If there was an
Yeah.
army like this, I guess it would kind of fill in the Nausicaan vibe, and that's fine. It's just Nausicaa was never my faction, really.
I think the best way to describe it is they remind me of Conan the animated series, and thus automatically they win.
Yes, but removed from chaos.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it? It's because that's what chaos used to be, right? Once upon a time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of always been in the fantasy battle system, but it seems like they're subtly moving away from that now, which is probably a good thing because that's an old world thing, right? The North doesn't exist anymore, so
and I think
that does make sense.
As we'll see later on, I think we'll be returning to that in the not too distant future, probably next year when something hits 40 years old. Speaking of chaos, this is something I'm really excited about, and this is the God Eater's Son. Now, recently the AOS books have been, and I'm not inclined to hyperbole here, fucking incredible. They have been absolutely knocking it out of the park by simply playing with the concepts that we know. For example, the Drekkie Flint book was a really good way of looking at a Caradron surrounded by Caradron who doesn't really run the Caradron by the code as we have in the Codex, in the Warhammer Armies books. Battle Tomes, that's what they're called now. Yeah, it's taking a look at the characters who are on the outside of that and thus making really interesting, engaging characters. I'm going through the Hollow King at the moment. Holy shit, the Hollow King is good.
Good book, yeah.
Well, it's a vampire who is noble. He's a soul blight who the basic concept of it is that he is a king who lost his kingdom to Zeech, which is how he turned to Nagash and became soul blight. He keeps on his hands 9 rings. Each of these contains a soul that he saved from Zeech. Right? These are the last parts of his kingdom, and that's the thing that drives him forward. He hunts down this cult that killed his city, his kingdom.
Interesting.
This happened 300 years ago. So anybody who is in the cult now is long dead. Like anybody who was there when it destroyed his kingdom is long dead. But he can't see it because of his immortal viewpoint on the world. So he is a completely fascinating character who very much you get the playing around with the mortal realms, seeing these different parts of the mortal realms, understanding the metaphysics of how people can go and live in a realm of death. This is something that's explored in the Hollow King. Yeah, it's.
I like the sound of that. I really like the sound of that. That does sound fun.
Oh God, the bloody book starts with a torture scene of torturing a Zeechian cult member, and during the torture, the cult member realizes the steps that brought him to where he is, and he doesn't want to be there. He sees the 1,000 cuts that brought him to being damned. And it starts off in this very small, innocuous place of wanting to protect his family, and it just becomes this thing. And you get to see it all before he dies.
Well, thankfully, there's an audiobook version which I'll be able to get to eventually.
Yeah, it's very good, very, very good.
It does sound good, actually. I do like the sound of that.
You know, Hamilcar Bearite is another one. He's a great character. You've got the Stormcast who are on paper in the Stormcast battle tomes. They are the Imperious. They are. We are the supernatural force that's coming to protect you. Hamilcar Bearite is the guy that goes around, takes a shit in the woods and punches out bears. He's great. It's really cool characters. And what we have here is the question of what would drive a normal person to worship chaos. He is rejecting Sigmar, and for good reasons, and he just becomes this leader, but he himself doesn't see himself as being the bad guy. He's not a damned soul. He's just, this is the choice I've had to make to survive. I'm all in. I am absolutely all in, because this is anywhere near the level. I mean, I know that we have harped on about where AOS has not really been working over the last year. It does mean I do need to put the flag down in the ground to say where AOS is working, and that is the novels. They have been.
It's in the fiction,
absolutely. Right? Outside of the Horus Heresy books, they have shut over everything that 40k has done for a long time now.
Interesting.
40k has had the Reign and Ruin books, which have been really good. The Necron King, Infinite and the Damned, Ahriman, and the Fabius Bile.
Yes, the recent Ahriman, that was good.
Everything else that's come out 40k has been a little too on the numbers 40k over the last maybe 2 years.
Generic kind of stuff, would you say?
It's there are things above that. I mean, like stuff like that oh god, the Admech guy. Call, the Belisarius Call book.
Oh, Belisarius.
Yeah, that book was amazing. Yeah. But the AOS books have been absolutely fucking superb. Yeah, they're just...
So what's God Eater's son about?
As I say, it's the story of the guy who has been through just war after war after war, and he's turned his back on Sigma, and he's embraced chaos. But this is the choices he's making in order to be his own person. To break away from the suffocating order of Sigma and to be his own person, to be his own. There's a word here I'm looking for, and it's completely gone out of my head. To have his own choices, basically. Now,
to have autonomy.
That's the word I was looking for. And that's a nice concept. That's a really nice concept.
That is fascinating, isn't it? To explore why a person might actively choose to follow one or more of the chaos powers.
Is he on his way to becoming a potential Everchosen?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
It sounds like it. It sounds like not Archaon's story, but something
similar, right? Like a similar arc, yeah?
Yeah, like it's this era's version of Archaon.
Because Archaon pretty much did the same thing, didn't he, early on?
Yeah, and I don't know about the guys before Archaon, but they probably had sort of similar-ish journeys in the sense, I would imagine.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
The lowdown on it's really good. Let me find it. Here it is. When the Azarites descended from upon the burning valley, a kingdom carved from the Actrian desert, they brought arrogance and cruelty with their riches, and a god who seemed blind to it all, despite harrowing losses, clung to his people's ways, forging a new existence without a single prayer to the armoured deity Sigma. Now, all held is the character, wants is solitude, but after saving a Sigmarite priestess from violent death, her troubles catch up to them and destroy the last of his peace. First broken, then enraged, he launches a brutal war of vengeance against Sigmar's worshippers, and soon finds himself thrust against the Stormcast Eternals, led by the cunning strategist Ildred Stormsworn. Alone, he cannot hope to win, yet surrender would mean accepting the mercy of a god he despises. To defeat the Stormcasts and avenge his fate, Held must embrace older, darker powers. Must embrace older, darker powers that risk the very freedom for which he fights. But when Sigmar's rulers are tyrants, and the champions of chaos prove worthy, which path is the most righteous? And once this choice is made, who will Heldenhar become?
I kind of like that.
Sounds interesting.
Really
I do
does.
like that idea.
Yeah. I can see one bad thing, though. I don't see a audiobook version for Audible. It doesn't mean there won't be
this has
one,
just been announced.
But not at the moment, yeah.
How long did it take for Gloomspite to get an Audible version?
Yeah.
And how many other books have you said that really good Age of Sigmar ones have not been put on Audible?
There's a fair few, yeah. It's a shame. But this one doesn't even have a release date yet. This is just its announcement, so my guess would be it's going to be another big...
Have you read anything by Noah before?
I'm sure I have, but I can't think what.
Okay.
The name sounds... it's Noah van Nguyen. That's a name that's...
He write something for Warhammer Crime? I believe Warhammer 40,000 Crime.
Possibly.
I think he did.
Noah van...
Well, there haven't been too many crime books, have there?
No.
So,
it does ring a bell, but I can't remember where from.
I would even say the last name, Nguyen.
So he's written The Last Crucible, Everqueen for Age of Sigmar, Monsters for Age of Sigmar, Monsters...
Everqueen was okay.
Yes, so he wrote stuff for the Black Library Advent Calendar 2021, which is where I know the name from. Because I was reading those as they were coming out.
Yeah.
Mr. White asked a question. This is from the description. I'm guessing he's asking this. Is this a story of a person looking to chaos for good? Looks
to be that way. Yeah, it looks like it's an exploration of someone falling to chaos through noble intentions.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he'll be disappointed if he's trying to find quote unquote good. He'll find autonomy in chaos. To a point. Yeah.
Well, I think it's
for a relative definition.
Yeah.
it's the question of being stuck between the two hard parts, isn't it? Yeah, you've got the Chaos Gods who are whispering all the things that you want, and then you've got Sigmar saying, well, you can't have any of it because I need to keep you safe.
I mean, that is the interesting dynamic between Sigmar and the Chaos Gods, isn't it? Sigmar is the god of order, but he's also the god of repression.
Yes.
Right?
Very much so.
So it depends on what you consider to be more evil.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Aye.
You also have that problem with Chaos as well, because the Chaos powers, certainly when you're dedicated to one of them, part of their blessing is that they alter your perspectives over time. So like Nurgle followers, for example, they don't bemoan their conditions. They love it. They think it's fantastic.
Eventually.
Eventually. It takes a while, but when you get there, it's genuine. You actually do feel that it's wonderful and beautiful and fantastic. So the same is true of the Hedonites, of Slaanesh. When you eventually get there, everything is welcome. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything is welcome. Everything is a source of joy and brilliance and wonder. So,
perspective is reality.
Perspective is reality, yeah. And that's even more true in this universe, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where belief alters physical reality, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to move us on to
the
next story, because I've just seen that we're getting on to a really late finish tonight. So I'm just going to quickly go through the next two, and then we'll get on to the last big story. So I'm going to go to the Battle Tome Ogre Moor Tribes next, that's out.
It's a battle tome. It's out.
It's a battle tome. It's out. It's the Ogres. There they are.
Nothing new.
Yeah, there they are. They're back.
Same old models. Not even one new character, seemingly.
No. I've watched the Lore Masters episode, and nothing new's really changed. There's still, the idea is still pretty cool.
It's it's cool.
It's
they're
fine.
there.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's nice to see them getting a little bit of love for a change.
Well,
Having at least a new book, which is surprising in and of itself, really.
It is. There's lots there that's really cool. They're definitely there, and I'm really happy that Ogre players, because there seems to be a lot of them, and that surprises me. So good on you.
It's cool. It's nice to see it for that, if nothing else.
And over in Warcry, just to bounce straight over to there, we're getting, which is really interesting, the first non-chaos Warcry stuff, because it's a skink.
Oh, that's cool. So it's starting to filter in at long last,
yeah, it's a chameleon skink. So as far as I'm aware,
oh yes, I remember seeing him in the rumor engine.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. It's the fact
he's cool actually. What a great miniature.
Yeah.
What was the chameleon skink who lived in the Chaos Realms for years and years and years hunting guys? What was he called?
Oh God.
You know who I mean?
Yeah.
I do know who you mean.
I'd like to check, because I do have the DLC from, but I don't want to mess up the stream.
I cannot remember for the life of me.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is that's the idea behind having this in this game, because it feels like it, because he's a skink, he's a chameleon with a blow dart, and it's cool.
Oxyotl.
It's a very nice new
Oxyotl. That's his name.
Oxyotl.
Yep. And it's like, I'm sure people who are like, man, wouldn't it be nice for a new Seraphon miniature or miniatures, hopefully? Well, here you go, you got one.
Yep.
We've seen a couple of rumor engines that look really like Seraphon.
Yeah.
I think when the Seraphon do hit for 3.0, there'll at least be one or two new miniatures, which would be nice.
Are they going to rewrite the lore for them to stop being made of starlight? Because they're clearly not.
I kind of think they already
they have. So the idea
they
is...
kind of still are made of starlight, but it's not quite as simple as that anymore, is it?
So basically how it works is that the pyramids are still floating around, and they still have these memories of soldiers that they can call upon. But what they've been doing is they've been spawning new physical skinks and saurus and all those type of things. And there's spawning pits now in the mortal realms as well. So the Starlight ones are still there, but they're vastly outnumbered by the amount of live born that are currently happening.
So there you go.
I'm sure Slaanesh was really happy about the spawning.
I'm sure.
Well, how I understand it, it's not what you might think. It's literally just a big old magical spawning pit, and they just put all the ingredients in.
Oh, that's boring, isn't it?
Wow.
Slaanesh would not be pleased by that.
No, very, very much the opposite.
Where's the sex?
Slaanesh would be offended.
I am offended by your lack of bonking. So yeah, which leads us then to the final story, which is a update on Warhammer: The Old World. Did everyone forget that this was happening?
Wow.
It's a thing. And I'm a little bit surprised.
Lovely to see the Tomb King's artwork. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So, Bretonnians, Tomb Kings, Orcs.
Yeah.
Didn't see this coming because I honestly thought that this was going to be Empire versus Empire games. I thought it was, because it's set through the time of the, what the hell do you call it? Is it the Six Kingdoms or something like that? The Six Emperors?
Oh yes, it's when the empire is fractured, isn't it? Into like there's like competing emperors for the throne.
Yeah. So that's when this is set. So I thought that was going to be basically much like how Horus Heresy was Marines versus Marines. I thought that's how they were going to do this, because if it's going to be a Forge World game, that's a lot of resin. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've actually worked out what they're doing now, and it's pretty fucking smart, to be honest with you. But I'll come back to that in a second. So yeah, what we actually found out is no, there's a lot more to it. We've got Bretonnia, proper Bretonnia. We've got the Tomb Kings, and we have Orcs. Holy mother of God, this is going to be a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Clearly,
it's a ball boy.
Yeah.
It is a ball boy, yeah. Honest to God, ball boy.
Mm-hmm.
What a fun word to say.
Boy.
It is a fun word.
And there's
ball boy Biggins as well. That's even more fun.
And there's some really interesting stuff going down on the map. So if you go to the map, you'll see that some things have been moved around, some things have been...
I was going to say the shape of the old world is slightly different, isn't it?
It is, yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, they've done some really interesting things here. Just moved stuff around and got a couple of things here. It's difficult to see. I'm just trying to zoom in as much as I can to try and really get... It's difficult to do. But, damn it, no, it's not working. I can do this really easy on my phone.
Oh wow, it has moved around.
There's a couple of interesting little things going on here. For example, there's a big empty space where there's a crater. There it is, the Plains of Zar. Now, we all know what lives in the Plain of Zar, don't we?
Pigs?
No. That's where Hashut is. That's the city of Hashut.
I was going to say, that's where the Chaos Dwarfs live, isn't it?
And above that...
I thought they were in the mountains.
No.
Are they not in mountains?
No, the Chaos Dwarfs are out in the desert. What's really cool, that above that is Zorn Uxil, which is where Astrogoth comes from.
Interesting.
Is a little bit.
Very interesting.
So the fact that they're down there on the map, it's not just that the areas there, because there's loads of blank areas, but the fact that they've got those names down on those bits makes me very interested.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? Because surely they wouldn't have bothered unless there is potential.
Yeah, unless there's a plan
for the Chaos Dwarfs to actually be here.
Yeah. Which, okay, really excited. There is a couple of different symbols for the different dwarf kingdoms, which is cool, which makes me think that the dwarves are going to have a little bit of a foothold in this. There is Skarsnik over in the World Edge Mountains. Skarsnik symbols there.
Awesome.
That makes me very happy. There's a couple of different orc tribes, including Gorbad. That's down there. So that's very cool.
Is that Grimgor's one, Gorbad?
No, not Grimgor. Way before Grimgor. Gorbad.
Oh.
Have I got that the right way around? I think I've got that the right way around. Grimgor.
I say Grimgor won't be born for a while.
No, yeah. Grimgor's the one that headbutted Archeon, isn't he? Kicked him in the nuts.
Archeon, yeah.
No, go about it. What was the other one I noticed? There was something else. Wood Elf right up at the top. There's some nice little Wood Elf symbols.
Isn't this around... This is around the time Heinrich Kemmler would be wandering around as well, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Interesting.
Very, very interesting. There's a little sign over here, just out of Bretonia, and it's a skull and crossbones with a pirate patch. I don't know what that is.
Oh, are they going to introduce like a new undead faction? It's going to be pirates.
Maybe they'll do the Vampire Coast finally.
Possibly. Could be Vampire
Could
Coast.
be,
It could be
be.
a pirate mercenary faction. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Interesting.
What's his name? Luther Harkon?
Yeah.
Luther Harkon, yeah.
Lot Harkon, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Because he could be pretty much over here. I think the Banshee lady can't be because she needs to be further over to the west, closer to the High Elves, because she's got beef with them. And Nocturne, I think, is it Nocturne? What's his name?
Nocturne.
Noctus? Something like that. He's further over to the west as well.
Yeah. There's some other stuff here which is really hard to see because of the picture.
I love how you blow up the image and it doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah, I know. It's been done on purpose, hasn't it? There's little black symbols dotted all over the place. Little things like the orc cow head, that type of thing. They're all over the place. What else is there? There's a symbol that I've never come across before, and it's a singular eye surrounded by spikes. I'm going to guess chaos, but I'm not sure.
I'm assuming that's chaos of some description.
Yep.
Might be.
Yep.
High Elves.
Maybe
not.
But I don't know what it could be representing. It's chaos of some description, but God knows what. Loads of freaking Kislev. Absolutely tons of Kislev stuff coming down into the old world.
Noticeably not anything from Tilia Estalia or Skavenblight.
Not yet.
No,
that region is barren. For
really interesting, that, isn't it? So it's what else is going to be coming out of that. What I really like is how much they've moved stuff around.
What is this going to be?
I don't know.
Is it just like an entire new game system where they're going to release armies and miniatures?
It might be really irritating, like the Horus Heresy, where they give you a decent amount of plastic kits and then go, "Oh, you want the really cool ones? No, you gotta buy the resin." Which is what Horus Heresy seems to be. You want Lucius the Eternal? Yeah, you gotta get the resin.
You gotta get the damn resin one.
Yeah, it's like, no, just make it all plastic.
Yeah.
No one knows why Forge World exists. No one knows.
But here's my interesting take on something. We know that Cities of Sigmar is coming in AOS, which means they're retiring all of the plastic kits for the Empire, right? Which means my guess would be that they're going to repurpose them for this. And that's how they're going to do the
that would that would make enormous sense.
So you've got yourself an already built-in massive amount of miniatures in plastic, in sets that you can get out. Perfect. My guess would also be that they're going to go back and probably repurpose some of the older plastic kits. So the like the orc sets and stuff like that. That would make perfect sense. You've got them right there. Just put them out. Which means that they're probably going to pull the hard boys out of AOS, would be my guess, and turn them back into the Black Orcs for this. Okay, perfect. Makes perfect sense to me. What I'm hoping for, I don't think it'll happen, but what I'm hoping for is stuff like the Night Goblin set from AOS and the Skaven set from AOS will get pulled and put into this, and we get a different take on that for AOS. What would actually be more likely to happen is that they'll pull double duty. There'll be AOS Old World double duty box sets, would be my guess. But it would make more sense to me to pull them, put them in AOS, and have new versions of those for AOS, because they need to be updated to be AOSified. The Night Goblin one, especially, because that is really freaking not fitting now.
It's quite old, I know.
Well, it's quite old, and it works perfectly for rank and file, but in a skirmish setting, it becomes very boring very fast. Because they're all exactly the same, which is one of those things. So I said ages and ages ago, I'll be interested to see what this looks like, but I very much doubt I'll get into it.
Yeah.
But
It's fascinating.
I can tell you one thing that will maybe not get you into it, but you'll go, ooh, new Thanquol.
Possible, yeah. Oh no, Thanquol
Brand new
Thanquol
Thanquol.
wouldn't be around yet. He'd be a...
I think they'll, give me a Vlad and an Isabella, I'll be happy.
Well, that's something else I'm thinking, that if it's set during this time, that's just as Vlad took over Sylvania.
I was going to say that the von Carsteins would be the principal undead army at this point.
Yeah.
So that would make enormous sense. In fact, not just Vlad and Isabella, but the rest of the clan as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
This is pre-Manfred, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Manfred
No,
around at this
Manfred's,
point?
no Manfred yet. No.
Not
Yeah, I
yet.
didn't think
This,
so.
Not yet.
So this is about the time when
Oh,
Vlad was...
Maybe Conrad eventually.
Yeah, more Conrad.
Yeah.
Yay.
This would be about the time
Few
when...
bats short of a belfry. Yay!
I mean, part of this story would be the zombie emperor that Vlad von Carstein and Kemmler makes to try and get him on the throne that fails miserably.
Yeah. What a great idea, though, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, if nothing else, I'll definitely be picking up the book.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't be that bothered about the game itself,
Yeah.
because for me it's done. The fantasy battle, the old world is done. But I am interested to see what they do with it, what it becomes.
I'm interested in seeing it being rebuilt from the ground up, rather than it being built upon, as it has been, as it was for many me until the end, where it became a little bit. Not just the game itself, but the world was very unwieldy. It needed streamlining quite badly.
It needed shattering, which is what happened.
Yeah, I always say I think it would have been really interesting to do everything, keep it on the old world, and then make the post-apocalyptic version of the old world, and then you continue it that way. And as much as I love AOS, and I do, I think that would have been a really cool way of going. But that's fine.
That would be fascinating, because we do know, of course, that that portion of the old world still exists, like the soul of the old world still
Malice,
exists.
The sphere of Malice,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still kicking around. I just can't believe that the fucking Chaos Dwarf stuff's actually named and it's just sitting there. Oh, hello! What are you up in the top corner?
We know they're coming in AOS at some point. I mean, they've been so mooted, it does make sense for them to occur here too.
Oh, you are too small!
That's what she said.
That's... it's difficult to make out. So yeah, right above Zorn Uzgul, there is something that looks like a Skaven claw mark.
I see that.
But I
Interesting.
can't get enough of a picture to be able to make anything out. Honestly,
No, it won't zoom in enough for me either.
I've been poring over this map for days. It's I'm loving it. I love the fact that things have been moved around.
Yeah, I quite like that too.
Yeah, it gives you this real feeling of what is this going to be. It's actually got me excited.
Just makes it a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more intriguing, isn't it? There's a little bit more dynamism going on here.
When you say stuff's been moved around, what do you mean? Because when I look at this, I see the Total War Warhammer map. This doesn't look that different from that.
Cities and things, and the way that they've moved the topography around a little bit. So the World's Edge Mountains, for example, they're going back a little bit further. There's a couple of areas that have moved around, not by much, but it just gives you a better smattering, so to speak. Like the Plain of Zar, that's been moved up slightly, and it's closer to Zorno's Gold than it used to be. The forest looks like it's a bit bigger. Obviously, this is because it's way in the past compared to where Total War is. But yeah, it's all little things like that, and it just like the one thing I really like is there's a high elf symbol in the bay.
Oh god, they're not doing the high elves again, are they?
Oh yeah, of course they're
Dear
doing the high elves again.
Go.
Yeah.
So dull.
Oh, absolutely they are. But that's the symbol of techness, so I'm assuming
boring.
he's on a shipwreck after he tried to mop the deck.
I mean, that's going to be a difficult thing for them to do. That's going to be a hard sell when you the fact that you have the Lumineth,
Yes.
who was so interesting and so beautiful in AOS, to sell the High Elves now is going to be really tricky. They're going to have to work hard.
I don't think it
that.
will be, because it's just your classic Tolkien elf.
They are, that's
people
exactly what they
alright
are.
with
But they're kind of boring. You know, aesthetically, they're just so dull compared to what's going on in AOS.
I still think there will be people that want the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because, again, they are a popular army in Total War Warhammer, so it's like
Are they?
people,
God.
yeah.
Dear
Well, they're
me.
really good at range. They've got incredible
Oh,
range.
well, that the same as they were in Fantasy Battle. Then, you know.
Yeah, the magic's pretty good.
Again.
They're not like they're not like the best army, but they're pretty strong. They can be strong.
Oh yeah, I mean, like back in Fantasy Battle, the High Elves were usually pretty devastating. They were a good army to take. They were just boring.
So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we've got. I was going to do a 60-second dungeon, but I think we have gone for long enough tonight. I think we're pretty much tapped out now.
Yep.
Nearly 2.5 hours. That's
Yeah,
not
we
bad.
did all right. I think we've done all
That's
right. There was
solid.
more to cover than I thought. Actually, I was quite surprised.
Yeah, it's been a good smattering of stuff, and I've very much enjoyed it. So let us bring these things to a close. We'll start with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Andy, where can people find you if they so wish to catch you with a giant butterfly net and put you in Traz in the Infinite
You
Museum?
can find me on YouTube as Decayed Andy, on Twitch as Decayed Andy, on the Moonbase 2 podcast, which if you go to Google and put in Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast, you'll probably find me. And yeah, that's it for the most part, I think.
Excellent. George, if people were to take a flying disc of Zeichin to suck in all of your essence and become one with the very soul that beats darkly underneath the skin, where would they be able to do that?
Well, to do all of that, you'd have to come to the Exaggerated Elegy channel on YouTube. There's something going down Sunday of this week at 7:30 p.m. Something very, very cool is happening then. Can't tell you what it is, but just come along to the channel and have a look, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Apart from that, there are links to all of my published work over at strangeplaygrounds.com. Most recently, the 2 volumes of Born in Blood, 2 short story collections that I'm very, 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 very pleased with. And apart from that, if you want to come and chat with me, you can do so over Twitter on an enigmatic elegy.
Sweet. As for myself,
What about you, Gruff?
that's about it now. As for myself, I'm not really doing very much other than working on the Fluffenhammer, which has had its daily updates now. There has been an article out every single day for 4 months. That is an achievement.
Good.
I'm really pleased with myself.
That's pretty cool.
It's a mixture of old articles and new articles. On weekends, I get out 3 articles every day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are 3 releases every day, all brand new. The rest of the week is a continuation of just old articles being re-released. That way, you never miss anything, and you always get something every single day of the week. I'm so good to you. Over on the Patreon, we've started something called the Fluffin Nation, where I get Trazin's giant butterfly net and grab somebody from the community to discuss things, topics, stuff, whatever. We play a bit of music, and it's all rather good fun. This month was HDE, the comic book letterer, talking about RPGs, kind of, and also Rush. We talked a lot about Rush. I've never talked that much about Rush in my life, but we talked about Rush. Outside of them, there's not really much else. You can check out a huge collection of artwork and audiobook stuff that I've done over at adnickel.weebly.com. And obviously, the Patreon is patreon.com/thefluffenhammer. Come and join us. Also, money, please, because this is bad times and we all need money. but I'm just going to get on bended knees at this point. Please, money. But if you can't afford to join the Patreon, that's completely understandable because these are indeed hard times. But go out, share the work, share what we do, share everything that we do. Go on, it's a share, like, subscribe, smash that fucking bell. I don't know how people do these things anymore. I hate asking people to do this stuff. But I've noticed the algorithm keeps burying us at the moment. So give us reviews. Go on. Give us 5-star reviews because we're here entertaining you in the best way that we can. Whether we succeeded or not is entirely up to you. So we love you. Thank you. Please make us 5 stars and stuff. I'm done. I'm done begging. Please help us. We're just poor little orphans. We're the podcast that walks past and an old man sticks his head out and goes, "You there, boy, what day is it?" And we say, "Oh, fucking, I don't know, we're a podcast." And then they say, transcendental podcast as the shape of a small boy. You know that butcher's down the road? We say, "No, we fucking don't, we're a podcast. We don't know what we're on about." It throws us gold coins and says, "Go buy the biggest turkey." And we're like, "Fuck off, we're a podcast." That's us. Night.